just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And you may be looking at my smile and going, Kempy, there's a twinkle in your eye. I'll tell you why there's a bloody twinkle in my eye, because footy is back. And there was so much of it on the weekend. It was absolutely incredible. Now, before I get to it, huge announcement, guys. Huge announcement. Friday, the 3rd of March, we will be at the Riverina in Wagga Wagga. So that is the 3rd of March, Riverina in Wagga Wagga. Friday, the 10th of March, we'll be at St Kilda in Armidale. Friday, 17th of March, still yet to be confirmed, but we'll be in Rockhampton. And Friday, 24th of March, we'll be at Gilligans in Cairns. That is right, guys. We have our locations sorted in regards to the live show. Myself, Guru, Timmy, Maddie will all be there. We put on a live show, then we come around, we have a beer with you, talk footy, all that good stuff. The country tour powered by Ringers Western. That's right, guys. Ringers Western have been kind enough to power this tour. They've supported us. They're a huge fan of this tour. So head over to Ringers Western, head over to their website. They've got fantastic kit. Ringers Western are a huge part of the country community as well. That's why we also approached them to do this. So that is Friday, 3rd of March, the Riverina, Wagga Wagga. The 10th of March, St Kilda, Armidale. 17th of March, to be confirmed, Rockhampton. We have a place in mind. We just need confirmation. Then the 24th of March is Gilligans in Cairns. It'll most likely be 6 o'clock each night. So 6 p.m. is most likely, but we will confirm times closer. And it is all powered by Ringers Western. So make sure to head over to ringerswestern.com.au, grab some kit, head to their Instagram. We're also doing a collaboration, Bloke and Ringers Western, bringing out merch for the tour. It is going to be huge. So massive, massive thank you to Ringers Western for supporting this. You guys say thank you to them for supporting us. We really appreciate it. But very exciting times. The Country Live Tour, it gets a week closer. Riverina, how you going, brother?
Going well, mate. I had a message from someone the other day telling me that their family was going to drive 5 hours to come to Cairns for the show.
Wow.
How fucking good's that?
That is humbling. I almost feel like 5 hours for us, Guru. I don't know if we're worth it.
I know I'm not. You might be. I know I'm fucking not. But yeah.
Timmy, are you worth 5 hour drive?
Yeah, I like to think so, mate. It's funny, Kempy, there, like you say, people look at you right now and go, Kempy, you got a twinkle in your eye, footy's back. They're looking at me going, Timbo, you got a bit of a tear in your eye today because the Raiders lost their one and only fullback at the entire club. So I'm still trying to come to terms with it and where we go from here. I've been trying to work out a solution and I don't have one. So thank Christ we've got country tours to get me back in the game and get excited because I can't wait for these.
I heard, is it Lockie Miller on the market?
Oh,
no? Oh, fuck. Oh, well, maybe he knew he has a spare fullback.
Oh.
I mean, even the Sharkies got a new fullback come in.
Yep.
They lost one, gave one away, and their fullback was the best on the field nearly.
Oh, we'd try to sign Reece Walsh, but he got a tiny head knock on the weekend. He's out for 8 weeks. So.
You can tell he's hurt. That hurt me too. The pretty boy Walsh. Oh, don't hurt that pretty face. Anyway, guys, the country tour powered by Ringers Western, Riverina Wagga, St Kilda in Armidale. To be confirmed, Rockhampton and Gilligans in Cairns. That's the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th and 24th. So first month of rugby league. But let's get into the chat, shall we? Biggest news from the weekend. Don't worry, guys. We're going to get to the game, so don't stress out. But biggest news. Kevin Walters, Career Mail is reporting that Kevin Walters is set to be issued a 2-year extension. The deal apparently comes with a twist that it will allow the Broncos to terminate the contract early without facing the same scenario they had when Seabold was paid out. If that is true, I think it's probably a good move. Like if the Broncos have given themselves, look, it doesn't instill confidence in I guess Kevy. But in saying that, if you're accountable and you're sitting there going, look, what's the reality of the situation? Like the reality is we bombed out last year. There has been dramas at the club. I like the fact of a 2-year extension because it does make whoever's signing there go, he's most likely going to be the coach there. The problem, a lot of people, I may have waited a few games into the season, but the problem is if you want to go into the market now and you don't have a coach re-sign, it's very hard to bring superstars on board. So I understand where the Broncos are coming from. What do you reckon, Guru?
And I think that's a really underappreciated fact by a lot of fans out there that when players are signing to clubs, they want to know who's going to be their coach. They want to know what the club's going to look like over the next 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it might be. So I understand it from that aspect. It just seems to be a red flag to me that you need a contract with a twist in it that allows you to get out of it.
Yeah, it is.
I understand why they've done it. I don't
yeah.
disagree with what you said, but it's just, once again, like, you don't see Roosters, Penrith, Melbourne in these sort of positions.
Yeah. Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
It's really odd. I think it's on face value, a big win for the club. You know, as you said, it's a great assurance for the fans, for players coming that want to play for Kev Walters, that he'll, you know, hopefully be there in the next 2 years, you know, to looking ahead to the future, and it's a bit of security there. I don't really understand it from Kevin Walters' point of view, because the point of a contract is that you're locking in your future, and if something goes pear-shaped, you get paid out, and that's what the contract is. So maybe it's just Kevin Walters going, no, you know what, I can take this club in the right direction, and I'm so confident in my ability, and I'll back myself to get through this 2 years. But it's an odd one from Kevin Walters' standpoint for me.
Well, it may be that because the details haven't been released, and rightly so. It may be like we only pay out the year that you're here. In the regards to, like, let's say they sack him mid-year this year, they only pay him out for that rest of the year. Instead of the whole 2 years kind of thing. It could be media spin in easing the fans' worry. It could be like to put out there that, guys, we're not going to be in the same position with Seabold, where he had the leverage of saying, I'm just going to sit there and take my contract up. So we don't know whether it's 100% true, but also I think from the Broncos' perspective, you'd be crazy not to put something like that in because of what happened with Seabold. They paid him out millions of dollars, dollary dues. So I would have probably waited just to see how things settled. Let's say, because apparently it's going to get announced this week. That's what the reports were anyway. I probably would have waited at least a few weeks, just to at least watch the trials and see how the players are responding to him. But again, I also understand you lock it in. There's no distractions at the start of the year, because if this isn't sorted by the start of the year, you know, it's a perfect opportunity for the media to speculate on, is Kevy going to get his contract? He's off contract this year.
The thing is, like, even if this is locked in the 2-year extension, but the Broncos can very easily terminate. As I said, we don't have the intricate details of it all, but there's still going to be that speculation, because there's no, like, he's not locked into a 2-year contract if they can get flick him without, you know, having to pay him out.
Yeah,
I don't think it's kind of like a bit of a facade. It's like, yeah, it looks good and rich and merry and everyone's happy, but has anything changed really?
Yeah,
if there's no payout.
It's a good point. You know, they've already kind of sent the message of like, we aren't 100% sure this is going to work out. But I can understand the Broncos thinking. I really can. And I can also understand if Kevy Walters is like, I don't like that. That's bullshit. I should get a 2-year deal.
It will be interesting to start this season too. Like they've drawn the very short straw. Penrith round 1 at Blue Bet.
Oh my God.
They've then got the Cowboys the week after that. So I don't know. It could get ugly up there. I hope it doesn't, but I think it could get ugly up there in the first few weeks. After that, they've got a reasonably good run. Dragons, Dolphins, Tigers. So, but fuck, if they end up after round 5 with 1 win or so, it's going to be carnage.
Riddle me this, Kempy. You Queenslanders getting the rub of the green in just a few poor years. We'll help the Broncos out, give them a good draw. The first 10 rounds of the comp, it's like, I think they're at Suncorp, he's at 8 games or something. They have round 1 in Penrith, brutal start to the year. But from there, they're at Suncorp just about every week. So they play the Dolphins at Suncorp. They have Magic Round, which granted would be a home game for them, but that's round 10. They go away, they play a home game against Parramatta. Sorry, Para have the home game. That's in Darwin. And then I think they go to the Gold Coast or something. Yeah.
Well, it all comes down to money. You know, they generate the most money. Suncorp generates the most money.
Crazy draw.
Yeah, it is a crazy draw, though. I mean, although they've got some tough teams to open the season, if they can't finish those first 10 games 6 from 10, I think that's disappointing for them. But you're right, though. It is fucking very, very great to open the year. In saying that, you could make the argument it's tougher because at the end of the year when you're all battered and bruised, you're travelling, you know, you're travelling constantly kind of thing.
As you said, it makes the first 10 rounds very important. They can't, because they are going to be on the road a bit more in the back end of the season, you know, lots of things will be thrown up there, lose a few players around Origin. They can't really afford probably 3 or 4 from 10, can they? They need to do some damage early on.
You don't want to be chasing 3 or 4 from 10 and going on the road for the second half of the year with such a young squad. Matty, what do you reckon about Kevy Walters' 2-year deal?
Yeah, I'm with Timmy. I don't really understand like what the benefit is for him. It's not really a contract, is it? I don't know if I know the CEO came out and said the players are backing Kevy, and I think whether or not they are, I think that's been said because of what's gone on this off season. But like getting a contract and not actually having security doesn't really make sense. If I'm the Broncos, I'm like, if Kevy accepts this, I'm like, sweet, perfect. But I don't know if Kevy will think, like, how much confidence do the Broncos have in Kevy if you're not actually signing him. But they got burned with Seabold, like when it comes to a payout. So I completely understand why they want to. That makes perfect sense to me.
I think the truth is always somewhere in the middle. It really is. So I think that it'd probably be they only pay out X amount of weeks rather than the whole contract. I doubt there's like literally we can sack you at any time, because it's like there's not even a contract then. It's just like a fucking...
Yeah. You mentioned then their first 10 games. You have a look at their last 6. They go Canterbury at Belmore, South Sydney, Roosters, Cowboys, Parramatta, bye, Raiders, Storm. So they essentially play the entire top 8 outside of Canterbury, who have to go to fucking Belmore to play in their last 6 weeks. So those first 10 weeks, they are going to be very important.
I think the draw actually kind of adds a bit of spice to our country tour, because 3 of the 4 weeks we're away, Broncos play on the Friday night. Oh. So people are going to get to watch Denon ride the highs and lows of the Brizzy Broncos playing.
Mate, it's the amount of shit I get when Broncos lose. I'm like, bro, I didn't fucking lose the fucking game. It's funny though. It's all part of the game. I love it. It'll be good. The banter will be fantastic, especially when we fucking pound every team by 40 points.
Well, round 4 will be a cracker when we're up in Cairns. That's Broncos, Dolphins, all Queensland.
Oh shit!
That'll be a good time.
That's a good one. That'll be a fucking great one. Yeah. So look, I think this is one of those ones where it's not perfect, but we are kind of understand, I guess, where both parties are coming from in regards to, the payout thing, rah. Now, Mitchell Pearce said he wants 1 more year in the NRL. He told Daily Telegraph he's committed Catalans, but doesn't know what will happen after that. I've always said I'd like another year in the NRL before retiring, so we'll see what's available. Look, I think obviously it all just depends on how much he's willing to get paid to come back. There'd be plenty of clubs that could use his experience on, a smaller contract. So I don't see how it's that crazy, like that crazy of a comment.
If I had to put my money somewhere, I'd put a year on Pearce finishing where Wayne Pearce finished at the Tigers.
Okay.
I reckon that'd be a perfect little finish to his career.
Wow, the big call. That's a big call, Guru. The Tigers. Could you imagine him in a Tigers jersey? Holy shit.
I reckon he'd be a really good get for last year of his career.
I agree. I 100% agree. Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I mean, first things first, I don't see why he wants to leave Catalans. Mate, I've been over to Catalans in Perpignan there, southern France, the beautiful beaches of Carnet.
Stop it.
It is beautiful. Mate, lock that deal in and spend as much time there as you can, because there's not a better place probably in the world to play rugby league. I mean, he's 34 in April. So, I mean, I wonder, his stats reading from last year in the Super League, not bad. Catalans finished 4th. Still a bit tough. He could absolutely come back and more than likely be a backup half of the club on, 150, 200K and do a job and finish his career in the NRL. But I don't know. I just wonder what he gets out of it. Like, you see a lot of players wanting to come back and have their fairy tale finish. Josh Reynolds at the Bulldogs, like Benji, Farah, trying to finish up with the Tigers. He said maybe the Tigers for Mitch Pearce because of his old boy, but like, where does his fairy tale finish sit? Does he come back and be a reserve at the Roosters or the Knights? It's like I don't see what he would necessarily get out of it, but sure, there's no reason why he can't.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if I'm him, I'm staying over there. Like, bro, you've achieved everything. Like, I can live the dream, bro. You've earned it. But he's a competitor. That was Mitch Pearce's game, his competitiveness.
And I think sometimes people sleep on that a little bit. Like, he was competitive as all fuck, Pearcey.
Yeah. I think we took it for granted, to be honest.
I think we definitely did. Yeah, and I think that he wore a lot throughout his career because he came up against the greatest Origin team to ever be assembled.
Yeah,
like I think sometimes he's a bit of a scapegoat for that. I'd love to see him back in the NRL, and I reckon, like, as much as Mitchell Pearce might not get a stack out of it, God, there'll be some juniors that'll get a lot out of that.
Oh, massively. I will say, like, how interesting his career would have been, say he was born in Queensland or whatever, or like New South Wales were a part, like he was a part of the 2005 New South, you know what I mean? I wonder how differently he would have been looked at.
I also think like his career could have been so much different if he would have been trialled in different positions. I reckon as a 13, he would have been unreal, Pearcey.
Because he's quite a bigger seven.
huge.
He's probably one of the biggest sevens, actually.
Defensively, he was always fantastic. Like I reckon he could have played 13, maybe even a bit of 9 here and there. But he always had the skill set that was hard to move him out of 7.
Yeah, true.
Is that the back end of his career? Could he make the transition to a ball playing lock? Wouldn't have to be massive minutes as such.
Yeah, well, if you don't want to leave Catalans to come play halfback, I don't know if you'd do it to come play 13.
Fuck that. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
good
Talk about going from fucking the penthouse to
But
the
I think it
shithouse.
could work for sure.
Oh, man. Okay, before we get to the great Cam Murray, Mr. Arousal himself, Liquor Legends promos for Queensland. You spend $30 and you can get a 6-pack of Midi for $10. In New South Wales, in all Liquor Legends, cases of lager at a discounted price. This ends the 21st of February, guys. So in Queensland, if you're listening right now and you're in Queensland, you've got a Liquor Legends near you, or you may have a Liquor Legends near you, go to the website, liquorlegends.com.au, or our website. You type in your postcode, it will show you the closest Liquor Legends. Head in there, spend $30, buy the misso some nice wine. You get a 6-pack of Midi for $10. $10. Also, in New South Wales, all Liquor Legends, the lager is currently at a discounted price. So head in there, grab some beer. Had plenty of people enjoying it on the weekend, watching the great Alexander Volkanovski. Actually, before we get to Cam Murray, talk quickly about the great Alexander Volkanovski. Loses to Islam Makhachev. A lot of people felt that Volks won. I personally had Volks winning 3-2. I think he won rounds 2, 3, and 5. Now, some people are saying robbery. I don't think it was a robbery. I think it was an extremely close fight. I think that it really depends on what you value. Now, I'm of the mind of like, I definitely appreciate like grappling and wrestling and takedown and jiu-jitsu and all that kind of stuff. But I am of the mind of like, if you take someone down and you're just doing it to run the clock down, it shouldn't be that, it shouldn't hold that much weight in scoring. It really shouldn't. So like, obviously round 4, like he clearly got the body triangle and was just like lying on him because he was scared of standing up with him, which is weird because Islam's stand-up was fucking amazing. Anyway, I just want to send a massive shout-out to Alex Volkanovski. One of the most incredible performances ever. This guy went up a weight against a guy that is absolutely running through everyone. Everyone's scared of him. He's a pound-for-pound second best in the world, and a lot of people thought Volkanovski won. I personally did, but obviously I'm an Aussie, so I'm seeing things for him, whereas I'm sure other people saw things for Islam. But I would love to see a rematch, and I just want to say Volkanovski, he represented this country so fucking well, an absolutely amazing athlete, an amazing fighter. And also, it says something, when I started watching, when I first saw Volkanovski's highlights before he was in UFC, because I was one of the first people to interview Volks, and we used to do a little UFC show together. So each week we'd sit down and just talk UFC, which was years and years ago. And one of the main reasons why I knew that he'd fucking give it a red hot crack, A, technically he was great, but B, I knew he would be good because he's 5'7", whatever. He's tiny, and he's playing front row in the Wollongong competition or the Illawarra competition, especially during that time. The Illawarra competition, it's not bad. Like, it's not bad at all, especially back then. You got ex-NRL players. If he's 5'7" or 5'8" or whatever he is, tiny, in the front row, being able to handle those big boys, I was like, imagine what he's going to do to 65 kilo people or 75 kilo people. And it shows you that if you can mix it in footy strength-wise, because he said Islam's strength wasn't that crazy. I'm not talking technically. He said that the biggest thing with Islam was just the technicality of what he was doing. But strength-wise, I think people underestimate professional rugby league players. Like, for some reason, because we're used to them, we see them, we don't appreciate how strong these guys are. They are world-class elite athletes, strength-wise.
Yeah, even myself, like getting out the last few weeks to these lower grade games, like you're right on the sideline and you hear the contact and you can see it. Like, you forget how brutal it is on TV. I think a lot of, like, obviously the TV game is so good now, so I think like there's less people going to games. Even when you're at games, you're 100 metres away from the field, realistically. You don't get to experience the contact and how fucking brutal it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible, Volks, amazing. One of the greatest, if not the greatest fighter we've ever produced. Amazing, absolutely amazing. What a fucking people just if people that listen to this, a lot of them probably don't watch MMA, don't know much about it. What he did yesterday was absolutely one of the greatest feats. If he won it, it would have been one of the greatest feats in Australian sport. That's how big of a deal it was.
We already knew this, just official confirmation. Xavier Savage will be up for 8 weeks. He'll be back in round 7 of the NRL season.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about Savage when we get to the review. Let's talk about Cam Murray. Says he contemplates and considers rugby union long term, but only gives that much thought. Doesn't give it that much thought at the moment. Meanwhile, big Nelson Asafa-Solomona, says he's interested in rugby too. I think like the Cam Murray one, he's been saying for quite a while that he loved playing rugby during school. He would absolutely kill it in rugby. I think it'd be a no-brainer. Like 2027 is when we're going to have the World Cup. Like he's the kind of player where, are you going to begrudge that bloke an opportunity to play in a World Cup? I'm not. Like he's given his all. By that stage, I mean, he's already given his all to the game. I would love to see him in an Australian rugby jersey. And this is coming from a bloke that absolutely loves league and wants us to grow massively. But at the same time, like Cam Murray, how much enjoyment I've got watching him play footy. Like, mate, fucking you do you, bro. And whatever your dream is, nail it. So what do you guys think, Cam Murray rugby?
Oh, I'd be filthy as a rugby league person. But as far as for Cam Murray, I mean, he is everything we want our footballers to be in every regard, whether it be off field when he's doing media. He's the toughest guy on every field he walks onto. Like he is just the perfect sort of guy that we want representing our game.
Yep.
And if that's a passion for Cam Murray, I'm all for him going after it. And like I remember watching him when he was at school. He was a fucking monster.
Really?
There was him and Angus that they weren't too many years apart. They might have even been in the same year, and they were both playing sort of that inside centre sort of thing, and they were unbelievable.
Yeah, Angus was fucking beast. Seeing his highlights. Timmy?
Much the same as you boys. It'd devastate me to see Cam Murray leave the NRL, but look, if there's an opportunity there to go and pursue another passion of his, to play a Rugby World Cup on home soil in 27, good luck to him. Hopefully, as I said, as rugby league fans, it doesn't come to that, but if that's where we are in a few years' time, so be it.
Yeah.
Strictly hypothetical, but if we fast forward about 4 years when he does decide to make the jump, let's say he does, it could be one of the biggest stories ever, because by that stage, there's every chance he could be captain of Australia, captain of New South Wales, and then imagine one of our biggest stars going to play rugby. It could be a huge story.
I'd probably watch the Rugby World Cup, so that's a bonus.
Yeah, I would definitely be watching the Rugby World Cup. Yeah, it would be massive news. I think it'll be interesting to see whether do New South Wales and Australia sit down and have a chat with Cam of mate, are you going to go to rugby? If you are, we'll give the captaincy to Paddy Carrigan or someone else in that generation. But it'll be massive news. But I kind of feel like a lot of footy fans, I don't know, Cam Murray has so much goodwill with rugby league fans. I feel like everyone would just be happy for him. I mean, obviously you get your usual people that'd be upset or whatever. But I think most people are like, you know what, bro, you grew up playing union. We've had you for so many years. Enjoy yourself.
He's 25. Again, this is looking a long way down the track, but he could easily go there. Go to Union in 2026. He'd be 28 years old. Do that. If he's good enough, goes and plays the World Cup in 2027, could come back to league with the Bunnies at 30 years old. There's ample opportunity to go over there for a couple of seasons and have a crack at it and come back.
Absolutely. So, look, one of those things. Big Nelson. Really interesting, because I think Big Nelson, especially overseas, the contracts he could get in rugby would be absolutely ginormous. I would go as far to say as he'd be crazy not to take a big, huge deal if it's on the table right now.
Yeah, especially, playing as a front row forward in the NRL, it's hard to get that big money. No one's ever going to pay you what he's going to be able to get in rugby union, realistically. Where would you play him in union? Sorry if that's a stupid question, but where would a body like his, where would you fit in?
Mate, I don't fucking know.
Oh, yeah. I've got
somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere, yeah.
That's it. A lot of these league converts, if they're not out and out backs, let's say forwards that convert to union, they're often nimble enough, like Cam Murray or Sonny Bill Williams, where, you can slot them in at inside centre if they've got the ball, playing maybe outside centre at a stretch. But a big bloke like Nelson, that playing in the forwards in rugby union is so technical. There is so much to it the scrums, the lineouts. There's years of mastering. So I don't know if Nelson has.
He would have grown up playing it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
being a
he'd have
Kiwi.
some union background.
Yeah,
so
surely.
like, I'm sure he wouldn't be going into it as a complete unknown.
Yeah.
But like making that, obviously he's so big. He's not playing in the back line in rugby
Could you imagine if
union.
he was like an inside centre?
Good God. So, you know, I don't know if they put him as a flanker or second rower or something, but it's a tough transition forwards going into
Yeah.
like very different to forward
Yeah.
in rugby league. Whereas the back line, it's similar enough.
That's what they did with Sam, didn't they? They played him at inside centre for England when he went over, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. And so,
I
like, the
think
only
Nelson's
reason,
a
like,
different player,
the tiny chance of inside centre is, like, he was playing on the edge in NRL for a bit, so it's like, maybe he can defend on the edge. I don't know. Look, there's more spacing in Union on the edges, so maybe that might be an issue. But, yeah, let us know in the comments, Union fans that, like, know much more about Union than we do. Where would Big Nelson play in rugby? But if he's got a big contract offer from rugby, mate, take it. Fucking you've won premierships. You've done everything here. Like, what else is there to do?
I wonder if the Kangaroos will chase any Wallabies for our next World Cup.
Oh, that was cheeky, Guru. How dare you, sir? Also, head into Albion Park Celebrations to grab a case of Bloke. They just started stocking midi. So Albion Park Celebrations just got the all-new Bloke midi in, which people are absolutely loving. Albion Park Celebrations. Head in there, grab a case. If you're not around the Albion area or you're in Queensland or whatever, head to our store locator on our website, put in your postcode, grab a case of the beautiful lager. Now, Peter V'landys is set to consider the future of the grand final and selling the event to the state government. Quote, looking at what they've, government in brackets, paid for much inferior events, they are going to have to get the checkbook out. There is enormous interest. Every state in Australia would love to have it. Look, I think this is just like more negotiation tactics. It's more... remember how, was it this year that just went, that they were going to take the game to Brisbane and unless he got what was promised and rah-rah. I think this is negotiations tactics for him getting it out early, as if to say, like, he wants more money out of the governments. If they don't do it, he'll go somewhere else. I will say, though, a grand final not in New South Wales or Queensland would be an outrage to the sport, in my opinion. Like, I understand we want to take the game and grow it or whatever, but when it comes to club footy, I think you have to reward fans and understand that they cannot afford to travel to different states. If their team makes grand final, that's once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, how often does your team make the grand final if you're not Storm or Roosters or whatever? If you were to take that to another state, I'm okay with Origin going to another state because you've got the 3 games, so we still get the opportunity to go to each game, and it is growing the game, but I would not be a fan at all of the grand final not being in Queensland or New South Wales. And that's coming from a guy I could afford to go and see it. So I'm thinking about the people that they're doing their best just to get by.
Just to give a real life example, I know this was COVID, but I know South lost as well, but I genuinely am still disappointed in Devo that I couldn't go to that 2021 grand final. It's still like there's something empty about that grand final. I know we lost, but it's just an example. Like, I couldn't get there. Like, surely your club team, it has to be in either state. Either New South Wales or
It has to be. Like, I just think it's unfair not to. What do you reckon, Guru?
I'm glad you said that because I was going to say the same thing, but point out that obviously I live in Sydney. I've grown up in Sydney, so maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I can't imagine it being anywhere else. And personally, I would rather see a bit of focus on making the grand final day a better event than trying to sell it left, right and centre, because at the moment we slap it together, we put 3 games together, there's not much thought to anything that goes on out there. It
should be a full festival.
Oh, mate, when you have a look at like the Super Bowl's on right now as we're recording, that's a 2-week event. The NRL grand final, you have a breakfast that no one sees fucking anything from.
Yeah.
They go into the city, they might meet a few fans, but you see very little of it. You get to grand final day and there's, 500 elite athletes that aren't playing that day that could be doing something that day.
To top it all off, guess what? And look, maybe there were live shows in other places, but in the Locker Room Hotel, like, ours was the biggest live show that I could see. Now, as I said, maybe there were people doing some smaller stuff elsewhere, but it shouldn't be external. Like, shouldn't be like, obviously we'll continue to do that because we love it, but the NRL should be having these huge tents with like kids to come and maybe they do. So I apologise if there is a place where but I personally didn't know where like that kind of stuff
And I mean,
was.
like, you have a look at where the grand final is out at Homebush. Like, there's so much space around there to do so many fucking things. It should be like an Easter show vibe out there.
Well, I went out there recently to Dave Chappelle and Red Hot Chili Peppers were at the stadium. And they were like as you're walking in across the road from the Locker Room Hotel, as you're walking in, there were lines of like food stores, like just on the street. And it gave it this festive vibe of like you could just walk around, all the streets were shut off. You could do the exact same thing.
Well, like where we did our live show, and it was fantastic. It was the best. But like we had our white picket fence. There was a football field of space next to us with nothing being used.
It's funny because like, I shouldn't say this because it's an idea I have, but I wanted to do, basically what I want to do is that I want to hire that whole field from the council or whatever, and on round 1 of every year, do like a footy festival. Yep. So like all day long, whether it's like on a Saturday or whatever, and there's a game there at the ANZ, if there was, or a core stadium. And so for grand final day, there should be like a genuine festival there for families to go have fun, even if you're not going to go in and watch the game, just to come in and watch it. So, and look, I understand it's very easy for us to sit here and spend someone else's money. Like it's easier for us to go, oh, you need to do this, and NRL sitting there going, mate, we got budgets, we can't just spend whatever. But I think like grand final, if you're going to spend money to do something big, I think grand final day is probably the day to do it.
100%, and you could like. There's so much you could do. Like and once again, I look at the NFL and what they do. Like they've got they do all these like skill testers and everything where you've got, there's moving targets. They got quarterbacks from. Like imagine if you had all the halfbacks in the comp. Take it, having a passing challenge, having a field. Like they do a thing over there where they put it up in the air and it's like a game of noughts and crosses, and the kickers have to kick it through the gaps. And like imagine if you did that with Adam Reynolds and another goal kicker. Like people would fucking love that.
Froth it, and the content you could create around
It'd be unbelievable. And the players like having a good time.
Yeah, and as long as it's like the players will. If it's midday or whatever, the players will rock up and bang it out for an hour or two, get them home, they'll be good.
Like I can't the conversation comes up 10 times every year. I haven't seen a 100-metre race in 25 years.
Yeah, look, you're right. Like I would love a fucking race. Like it'd be incredible. The only thing is like injuries and all that kind of stuff. But I would love to see it.
Oh, like give the fans what they want though. It'd be unreal.
I know, Timmy. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I mean around the government potentially taking the grand final to another state, like let's be realistic, it's not leaving New South Wales or Queensland anytime soon. If it were to move, surely they'd be talking about Queensland. It'd be a real dagger in the back to, I think, footy fans in the heartland of the game in New South Wales and Queensland if they went to another state for some increased finances should another state government give a better offer. So I think I'd be absolutely stunned if it went elsewhere. The idea of festival of footy around grand final, obviously we do Magic Weekend, but the opportunities they could do around grand final day to grow it and promote it, as I said, content-wise.
Look how successful Magic Round's been.
So much potential.
If Magic Round's been incredible, and so obviously the NRL deserve a massive rap for putting that together, and they do it so well. Yep. But just take that to the grand final, like similar vibe, similar festive vibe, all that kind of stuff. In saying all of that, I do think this is more just V'landys negotiating to get the best deal for New South Wales. That's what I think is happening. Now, on to the All-Stars. 28-24 victory. Indigenous All-Stars break the streak over in New Zealand as well. What a game. What a game. In addition, Cobbo, he racked up 208 metres, but he also scored 3 tries, 8 tackle breaks. The great Selwyn Cobbo. Oh, man. He has 6 errors, but he scores 3 tries, and you go, when you see him make that break and he fends those 2 players, you go, there's no one else in the NRL outside of Latrell Mitchell that can do that. Literally, no one else in the NRL. It is absolutely incredible, this kid's potential. It's just a matter of just those errors. Fuck, bruh, please, just sort that out. Anyway, outside of that, from an overall game, I thought this was a fantastic game. I thought it was entertaining, had everything you needed. I thought that the Indigenous side did what we kind of suggested in regards to they hit about the 60th minute mark and just ramped the pace up through the middle, and the multi-forwards and the big fellas really struggled to go with it. And I thought that was really smart from Cody Walker to basically be the leader of that, to go identify the fact that, all right, 60th minute, boys, line speed increase, ball playing increase, everything around the ruck, small fellas in there. So I thought the Indigenous game plan was actually really, really smart. Everything was incredible. What do you think of the game, Guru?
I loved the way that they used Latrell Mitchell and Hines, the way that they moved them between fullback, centre and everything. I thought that was fantastic. And Hines, You're always confident he's going to go well, but when a guy comes off a career high year like that, you're always like, can he do it again? I walked away from that game going, he might get better.
Oh, I know. Well, he's looking better now than he did at the same time last year.
Yeah. So
you're going, fuck me. Like, this kid actually, he was incredible. He was incredible. It was like, he was playing like he's been the best 7 of this generation. Like, that's how confident he was playing. It's his second year as an NRL 7. It's amazing. Timmy, what do you think of the game?
Yeah, it took me about 40 minutes to work out how they were manoeuvring Hines and Latrell and chopping between fullback and centre and half and all over the place. It was great. Like, really enjoyed it. It was interesting how we came in on last week's podcast in the preview to it, how the Maori forwards were likely going to be more dominant. The Indigenous back line was just star-studded. In the team of the match that they put out, all 6 of the forwards were from the Maori team.
Oh, really?
And 6 of the 7 backline players were Indigenous players. So, like, it went as expected in that sense. We also said we struggled to separate them. Once there were a couple of key outs mid last week and, a 4-point margin in it. So, it was such an outstanding game of footy. I loved it. Lots of players took a few good opportunities in, a big game for the weekend. I said Nico was the one who just...
Mate.
His ability just to be on... He must be so fit.
Oh.
He gets so many touches and just accumulates stats. Oh, he was awesome.
Yeah, he was incredible. And this is going to sound super ironic, but mouldy.
Well, I know, man. I heard you saying it. I was like, oh...
Just think mouldy.
Mouldy.
Like as in mouldy cheese.
With an R.
But just mouldy.
Mouldy.
Give it a go.
Mouldy.
Close. Mouldy. That's all right.
With a D.
Yeah, mouldy. There you go. Boom.
All right.
But let us know in the comments section if you've got a better way to explain it, because me as a white Australian, I'm like telling someone else, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just trying to help out. Let us know in the comment section the best way you guys you explain to us white Aussies how to explain it. Like Hines, his fitness. I feel like I say this all the time, but fitness is the most underrated weapon of a footy player. Like, whenever we look at our superstars, whenever you see a superstar and you're like, what's his one thing holding him back? It's always like, oh, he's just not fit. Like, he doesn't get through enough work. Whereas when you look at the best players in our game, like Cam Smith never looked like he was sweating. Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk's fitness was always up there. Like, all these guys, their fitness is just like Tedesco. His fitness is through the roof. Joey Manu. So Nico Hines, his ability to just be on the ball and punishing you. As soon as he sees loose markers, quick play the ball, boom, he's straight on the bike, on the front foot. And he's just taking time away from defenders to make decisions and implement their systems to stop certain things. Like, for example, the try where he went down the short side and then one of the boys kicked it back in. Was it Dane Laurie? Kicked it back in and he scored. The Māori team did the right thing, but they tried to basically rely on their systems to negate that, which was, oh shit, we're on the back foot here, let's slide. But Nico Hines was so quick and up in their faces, he took away the time for the defence to come from the inside and help him out. And that just, if he was a split second later, that doesn't happen.
Yep. He's as sharp, like the fittest blokes in the game are as sharp in the 80th minute as they are the first, and that's the difference. And let's compare Nico Hines to, say, Latrell Mitchell, who, I think we'd all pretty confidently say at this stage, Latrell Mitchell's probably the better footballer, absolutely explosive. Where they differentiate is Nico can just go and get 4 touches a set for 80 minutes. If Latrell does that, he's just absolutely gassed. And that's fine. He's a big boy, he's carrying a bit more weight, he's an explosive player, and they're different styles, but that's where Nico might be lacking a little bit of explosiveness comparatively to Latrell. He makes up in just being on ball every set.
Yeah. Well, Billy Slater's a good example, where he's not as big and explosive as, even Jared Hayne at times, but because he was so fit. Greg Inglis in that era. Like, he was so fit. Brett Stewart as well. Like, they were both so fit that they were just always on the ball, ready to go.
Every time there's a line break, who's there supporting? It's these fit, quick, nimble blokes.
Yep. Absolutely.
He ran for 225 metres in that game, Nico.
Yeah. It's honestly, we don't usually see halves, number 7s. We might see 6s running for that every now and then, but number 7s running for 200 and having 4 or 5 tackle breaks, 3 or 4 line breaks. Like,
He did have some kick returns,
it's just amazing.
tells, but still.
It's just like what he's managed to achieve in such a short space of time, and to come out and play like that. What did we say before going into it? Like, we're like, when you win a Dally M, all of a sudden you're the guy. So everyone's shooting out at you. They're trying to hit you late after you pass the ball, and he still managed to dominate that game.
Would you say Nicho Hynes, would you have him still as a top 5 fullback as well?
I mean, it's hard to say no. Like,
It's hard to argue with,
because
I think.
like if he was at fullback, you know that he'd be having a million try assists and all those meters. Amazing performance by Nicho. We spoke about Selwyn Cobbo a bit before. Again, like, you know, you have your 6 errors, but then you could argue they don't win the game if Selwyn's not on the field. So it's this weird balance of like, if he can sort those errors out, it's just seriously whatever he wants to be.
Well, it can't be an if. He has to sort them out. Like, you look at last season, we did it the other day, like we worked out on average who had the most errors the entire season. He averaged 2 errors per game last season, which for a winger is outrageous. And then for his first big game of the year to have 6, that's triple what the highest average in the competition was last year. And, you know, he's an incredible talent, there's no doubt about it, but you cannot be running around in the NRL making 2 errors a game, let alone 6.
How did you feel about watching that, Kempy? Because if I were a Broncos fan and just as a footy fan watching Selwyn, wanting the best out of him, it's like 6 errors but 3 tries in 12 minutes, which is absurd. But we know he's got the attacking upside. It's like, sweet. You just want to. I would want to see the little things right, and obviously getting on top of these errors. It must have been an interesting watch for you.
Yeah, it's. Look, it depends. It really just depends on whether Selwyn wants to fix it, because like those errors are fixable. It's not like he's truly one of the most talented players in the game right now, and so it's not a skill set thing. It's just a concentration thing. So it's an easy fix. It's just whether he wants to fix it, and whether. Sometimes players are so good that they get away with stuff like that. Whereas if he doesn't score those 3 tries, we're all sitting here going, wow, like Selwyn, like not a good game, not looking good. So I try to be positive in the sense that I think he can fix it, but he absolutely needs to address it. And I do think that the Broncos will be just like speaking to him like, mate, we need you to like. The thing is you have to walk a fine balance with Selwyn, because you don't want to take away that confidence of like, I will try anything at any time. Like, he's where the ball was thrown out the back, he's running at full pace, he grubbers along the line, catches it, then goes for that run, gets a quick play the ball, and then Nicho scores off a right foot step. Like, that kind of stuff is instinctive, and you don't want to rob the kid of that incredible ability. You can't, like, people pay millions, or at least $1 million a year for that. Like, that's premiership winning kind of instinctualness. And that's just about getting those errors out of his game. Like, if it was 2 or 3, I probably wouldn't be speaking about it, because it'd be like, you know what, those games can happen. But when it's 6, it's like, oof.
And if it happens when he is doing the freakish stuff like that, it's a different story. But the errors that he's making are very basic. And
they're concentration errors.
They're concentration error. That's all it is at the end of the day. So and like, imagine if you take them out of his game. Like, if he just goes back down to a normal error rate. Like, the ability that he's got is it's off the charts.
Oh, like, literally. That try he scored where he scoops the ball up, bang, fend in the chest, bang, fend in the chest, then sprints away and gasses everyone. Because think about how many... This is how good that try was. He had to stop for 2 players, fend them off, and then start sprinting, and he still gassed every single multiplayer.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So good.
And he is, 6'4"? Or 6'3", like that is unheard of. So, look, I totally get where he's coming from. I'm trying to, I as always on this show, I try to be positive and glass half full. I think he can sort it, but it absolutely is something he needs to look at, because it's becoming a bit of a trend now in regards to, you look at his last season, the amount of errors he made, which was number 1 in the comp, wasn't he?
On average, yes. He
average.
was 3rd overall, but he played 6 less games than 1 and 2.
Yeah, so basically the most errors in the comp. He doesn't even need to get, like, he doesn't have to be a perfect footballer. I want him trying things. I want him playing that incredibly instinctive footy, but just concentrate a little bit here or there, and we'll be good. So I'm still very hyped on Selwyn, still very, very, just so excited to see him in a Broncos jersey, so proud to see him in a Broncos jersey.
And to be glass half full even more, like, fuck, for him to have, I thought his first 60 minutes were very average. I was very disappointed, but then he has still got the confidence to go, you know what? Fuck it. I've made a heap of mistakes, but I can have an impact on this game. And credit to him, like that's the other thing that makes him so dangerous. He's got that mindset.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you don't want to chip that away.
Yep.
You don't want to take away the guy that can make 5 errors and then score 3 tries in fucking 19 minutes and literally win you the game. And so some coaches that maybe less experienced will just come down hard on him and be like, mate, fucking do your hit ups and rah. You don't want to do that. And this is why like Wayne Bennett would be perfect for him, because Wayne would know how to find that balance between keeping the guy's incredible talent. But I mean, look at Cody Walker and the way he plays. Like Cody Walker, the way he plays, it's a miracle he doesn't make a million errors, because he's playing within centimetres. Like he goes to the line and he's throwing the ball just behind his, like all that kind of stuff. So look, I think he's still really young, Selwyn. I think he'll work it out. I really think he'll work it out.
And similar to Selwyn, when you look at Cody, the beauty of what he does is that he's not afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is the other huge, and that's like I always think James Maloney is the best example of all time. James Maloney could have thrown 2 intercepts and spray the blokes that didn't chase him, and then still win the game for you. Like he did it on so many occasions. That's what I love about Selwyn, that he has got that mindset. But the errors he's making, he can clean them up quite easily.
Yeah. It's just concentration. So very exciting though. Like just to see what he was doing on the field. You don't see that very often. So when you do see it, you got to enjoy it and appreciate it. That was fucking amazing. Now, Jordan Ricky's brother, is it Preston Ricky?
Yeah.
Ooh, he was scary. So he's down at Penrith as well.
How typical. I was watching him going, geez, he's like, this bloke can play.
Yeah.
What club's he at? Oh, Penrith. Of course he is.
Mate, can you, like, that talent end at Penrith? Jesus. I wonder how old he is, because, like, I'll have to check here. You guys.
He's 24.
He's 24. Okay, so he has been around for a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe he's a late bloomer, but, I mean, at least in that game, you're going, fuck me. So he's older than Jordan. So, yeah, it would be, because Jordan's about 22.
I think so, yeah.
Jordan Ricky, there was a couple of little things, like he chased too hard on the Nico Hines try, and that was like he should have stayed square. But we saw the potential there. We spoke about before going into the game. Actually, we'll speak about someone else because they're both Broncos players, and I know people will be like, stop talking about Broncos players. Hayes Perham. Thoughts?
Yeah, I've seen him play before. He's got a very high skill set. He's a quality player, but I've got to be honest with you, I wasn't convinced with him at fullback the other day.
You reckon he might be more of a winger, maybe?
Yeah, I think he can play one. And look, we're judging him off one game at fullback, not in his team that he's been training with. So I just thought there was a couple of times where he overplayed his hand. There was a couple of passes down the right edge that were nowhere near the mark, if we're being honest. So I think he's got a lot to work on. But I mean, that's still, that's his first game of the season at fullback. I think he can improve, but I thought he'd be better than that on his first hit out.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
I didn't learn anything from Perham in this game, because I came into the game thinking, all right, we know he can move. He's a really good ball runner, super nimble on his feet. A few question marks around, can he slot into this fullback role? What's his positioning like? His ball playing? There were good signs, but there are a lot of, I suppose, issues around his ball playing. You mentioned one that he threw there, Guru over the sideline, that wasn't even close to the mark. Maybe you put that down to combinations and different, will it be different when he's at the doggies with players he's more frequented with? I really didn't know what to make of it, because there's so much potential there. I think you can probably make a good fullback out of him, but I still need to see a lot more.
And I mean, there's the other side of the argument, to his credit. He had a back rower playing hooker. He had 2 guys that aren't first graders in the halves. And mate, we'll talk about it later, but when I sat down and watched Canterbury, that system looked like they've been playing together for 3 or 4 years. They were very impressive. So once I saw that, I thought, okay, this All-Stars game was a tough gig for this kid to come into. I thought he'd be better, but I'm not going to judge him too heavily until I see him next week in the Canterbury system.
Look, I think you can look at him and you go, look, ball running, physicality, footwork, all at an NRL standard. Just to the ball playing. But one game, it's a trial.
Yep.
These ball playing, it's a matter of inches. Like, so I'm really, the glass half full view of this is like, we know he can handle the physicality. We know he's got good footwork. We know he's strong. We know he's relatively quick. So there's a chance there that he may be what they need at fullback at the moment until Critter gets there if they want to put Critter there at fullback. But I didn't think he played poorly though. I didn't think he played poorly at all. I just thought kind of the same as you guys. Good, solid hit out. Hard to tell. Like a fullback's so beholden on their 6, 7 and 9 these days, unless you're a Joey Manu or Tedesco that takes 30 hit-ups. Whereas Hayes Perham, he's still a rookie. He's not going to be that dominant of calling the ball. It's going to take him time to get confident. So,
am I right in saying played in the halves a little bit at the Warriors? He's been chopped and changed all over the place, hasn't he? So
he's got a fair highlights reel.
He does. Yeah. There's so much upside to him. He could be a tremendous talent. So if he does kill it at fullback this year for the Dogs, then Critter comes in and wants to play fullback. There's the option to be, shifting to the halves as well. So he's very versatile.
I also think he's the sort of fullback, as you said, Kemi. The highlights reel is pretty impressive, but you go and watch it. He is a bit of an unorthodox sort of rogue character, the way that he plays. So I think that you would also have to get a team used to him, around him, which I think could make a huge difference at the Bulldogs as well.
Now, shout out Joseph Tarpanair. Looking goods again. 161 metres, 72 post contact, which was the most of any player on the field. I'll just check. I think it was the most of any player on the field. Yes, it was. Of course it was. It's Tarpanair. 6 tackle breaks, 30 tackles, 0 misses, 0 errors. Fuck this guy. He's so good, bro. You get stats like that from battlers usually, you know what I mean? Like guys that are grinders and they get through a ton of hit-ups, a ton of work, and you go, like your Josh Jackson's kind of thing. Like you don't get it from guys that on their day have the best footwork a front rower has in the game. Maybe not the best. I'd argue his footwork is as good as any other front rower. He can offload. He's decent at ball play. You don't get these kind of incredible stats of like 0 misses, 0 errors from guys like Tarpanair. Like, I think he is growing into arguably one of the best forwards in the game right now.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I don't think there's any argument. Obviously, he's done it for a small stint, but still, it was half a season. But all signs pointed to the other night that he's going to do it again for Canberra. And I think as well, and you can probably talk about it more to me, but I think it's, I think the keys have really been handed from Josh Papali'i to this guy, and mate, I think he's taken it with 2 hands.
Yeah, well, I mean, who would be your first picked front rower in your best NRL 13 right now? Is anyone better than Joseph Tarpanair?
Well, I'll put it this way: if you did select Tarpanair, I would not say that's a bad selection.
Yeah,
it would probably be right now. Like, it's hard because you've got guys like Haas that just put up these crazy numbers, but winning games is the biggest stat. And then you go Fisher Harris, who always fucking steps up. I thought Fisher Harris was outstanding. Obviously, he had that one error at the end, but outside of that, I thought he was outstanding.
He had one run there, was right in the middle of the field, blokes all around him, and he just got on his little twinkle toes, cut in between about 3 blokes, made half a line break. He went, big blokes shouldn't be able to move.
Is
like
that Tarpanair?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. As I said, I'm trying to think forwards with front rowers with better footwork than Tarpanair.
I don't think there is one.
Yeah. Probably isn't one, eh? Nah. And yet, that's the thing. He has the flashy stuff that we all love, but he also has the stats of a grinder, which is it's amazing. It blows my mind.
And his flashy stuff that he can do, you see guys in this comp when they go for an offload, the ball hits the ground every 2 or 3. His are always on the mark. Yeah. He's never pushing offloads. He's creating them in the right spots when they need to happen. He's such a talented guy.
So fucking talented. Another guy, I know, if you looked at stats or whatever, you may not jump out at you. There was a couple of runs where I saw Royce Hunt, and I'm going, fuck me. If he can do that this year at the Sharkies, he is huge. He's so big. And the amount of times he found his front, I just think he's in for a big year, real big year. I don't know. Again, I know statistically it doesn't jump out at you, but me watching the game, there were just some runs that he took that were super important, got him on the front foot. Fisher Harris, again, as I said, I thought he was outstanding. A few errors, a few uncharacteristic errors, but when it came to running the ball, 174 metres in the middle there, your first trial, which is the most of any forward on the field. That's impressive.
Similar to Royce Hunt, as you said, the stats don't jump off the table, but I thought Leo Thompson was good off the bench too for Newcastle, and watched them the night before, and we'll talk about it later. I was pretty disappointed with their middles in the first 25 minutes when they were all on deck, and I think that they're definitely going to need a third front row forward to really jump out of the ground this year, and I reckon Leo Thompson could be it.
It's just fucked that you say that because you're like, oh, they just got rid of a New South Wales on 19 front row. Sorry,
Exactly
Newey fans.
right.
My bad. Our bad. Look, put it this way. If Knights make the 8 this year, I will 100% say I was wrong and it was a good trade. So don't worry, guys. I'm happy to admit if I was wrong. Who else was there? Paul Turner. He's got a bit about him. And I messaged you, Guru. I was like, fuck, I would love to see this kid in a Storm or Roosters. Because he's such the typical example of like super silky, crazy footwork, explosive off the mark. But sometimes they can rely too heavily on that. I'm not saying he did that in this game. I'm just saying that like you see these guys come through all the time where you're like, far out here is silky, but they just struggle with like structures of game plans. And I'm not saying that he is going to do that. I'm just saying that there's a bit about Paul Turner.
There is, and I would say that he has relied on that in the past a little bit, which I think has cost him a little bit because he can do things that others can't, but it's very hard to get a read on when you're going to get it.
Well, like the Ricky try, even just the way he dropped him off, the stop, the start, the silky way he hid the ball, like these are things that are the intangibles that are very hard to teach. So I wonder what's going to happen with his career because I know that didn't he have crazy raps on him a few years ago? Like we're
Big
talking
raps.
fucking
I think he came from the Warriors from memory. He had big raps. He arrived at the Titans. I think he's still up there. But I mean, fuck, we're all sitting here going, who's going to play halfback? His name hasn't even been mentioned. I'm not convinced if he is a 7.
Is he a 6? You think?
Maybe.
Yeah. Interesting.
He's not a 7, but I think 6 might be his best spot.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Jordan Ricky. I mean, we saw, like, this is what we talk about at the start of the year with Jordan, is like, this is the year he needs to hit the potential that we all know he can. He had a bit of a quiet year last year, a couple too many errors. He still did have an error in this game, but, like, one every now and then is okay. And there was a few defensive reads where you're like, oof, probably should have made that. But outside of that, some of his runs and his ability is... His upside is massive. Like, he is so mobile. He's so good in contact. He runs a great line when he nails it. So I think it's good signs for the Broncos. Again, we've been here before with Jordan where we go, okay, this is going to be the year. But I think this is the closest I've been to being like, it really might be the year Jordan Ricky breaks out.
And there was, I think he made a really good tackle. I think it was Ezra Mam, and he was at first marker, and then Nico Hines got the ball. And he made that first shot. I went, fuck, that was a good knock by Jordan Ricky. Then he got out at first marker, and he was a metre away from Nico Hines.
Overchased, yeah.
And he stayed a metre away from him the entire time. But then you get to the end of the game, and he comes up with that try, which was fucking fantastic, playing on the wrong edge. Him and Cobbo, they've just got to get those couple of errors out.
Well, you know what's funny is, look, the same situation with Jordan Ricky, it was a concentration thing because it wasn't an effort thing. He was chasing too hard. And so it's just that split second where you stop thinking about what's happening, and that's what can kind of happen.
And that's what with that Brisbane edge, like you see Adam Reynolds get the ball down there, and like I hold my breath because you got Ricky, you got Selwyn Cobbo out there. You're just hoping that they get through this set and they complete it. Whereas, like if both of them can just cut one error out of their game a game. That edge will be massive for them.
I said it at the start of last year, and I think I might have copped a little bit of slack from it.
Copped a heap for it.
But Staggs, Selwyn, and Ricky and Reynolds can be one of the most damaging edges in the comp. And people are like, you're off your fucking head. But I think at their best, they can be one of the most damaging. And I understand, I've got Broncos biased. I get all that, guys. But Ricky, potential-wise, is up there. Katoni, we all know what he can do. But when you look at the error rate over there, like if you put it this way, if you cut half their errors out, they're probably scoring 10 more tries together. So I think it's good signs for Ricky. Again, one or two little things, but this is because, and people might be going, oh, that's a bit harsh. Like, he had a great game. He did, but this is because we think Ricky can be one of the best back rowers in the NRL, period. In my opinion, anyway. I think he can be one of the best in the NRL. What do you reckon about the Ricky performance, Timmy?
Yeah, it was funny when Guru mentioned Selwyn Cobbo in that mix as well with Jordan Ricky. It's like, we know he can do the good stuff. We know he can run a hard line and score a good try. It's like, great to see, but we know the upside's there. I want to see the 1%ers, like you touched on. I want to see him concentrating from marker, working from marker, covering in defence, all the little parts of his game, because we know how good he can be, but we need to see him bring it together. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. I think he's ready for a big year. I really do. I've got faith in the boys. Come on, boys. Lay me down. Now to the Indigenous side. One thing I will say that was really surprising, this might be Latrell Mitchell's first ever game where he didn't have a tackle break. And I was like, do you reckon his shoulder was not good?
Potentially. Yeah.
Because that's what he does, is he throws motherfuckers around.
Yeah.
I wonder whether his shoulder was a bit
It
like
can be hard in those games where there's constant subs and you're changing positions. Sometimes you can just get a little bit lost in them.
But 80 minutes, 3 runs.
He had 3 runs, so was that, in terms of the non-tackle breaks, I mean, if you only had 3 runs, you just didn't get the tackle breaks, he sort of sat at centre in some attacking structures, but then he would play the sweeping role, did a lot of passing, and had a couple of peaches out there for Cobbo. It just wasn't in contact a lot, I don't think.
That's what I mean, and I just wonder, is his shoulder... Is that why he played the ball playing role? Which is crazy. Latrell Mitchell, one of the biggest players in the comp, can just go, you know what? My shoulder's a bit sore. If it is sore, I'm just going to ball play. And then just put absolute dimes for the boys. But yeah, I just was watching going, fuck, is his shoulder giving him a bit of trouble? I'm not sure.
Well, that's what I thought was so impressive about this side. Latrell Mitchell and Jack Whiten, they combined for 11 runs between them.
Jack Whiten's defence was fucking outstanding.
Monster, yeah.
He is fast becoming one of my favourite players in the game. There's not a game that doesn't go by where Jackie Whiten doesn't play where I'm going, fuck, I love this bloke. He rips and tears so much. Just sucks he plays for the Raiders, to be honest. But
Jesus.
I think the Indigenous, as I said, you're totally right, Guru, in regards to Trell Mitt, Jackie Whiten, even Cody Walker, although Cody Walker, still had a try assist, everything like that. Their main guys didn't really have these crazy games. It was younger fellas that come in. Even Naden's flick pass I thought was really good.
It's the first game of football I've seen him play.
Naden is talented, man. Yeah. He is super talented.
We sat down and did the Tigers best 17 the other day, and there's about 4 or 5 names you can chuck in the centres, and we were sort of going, geez, do you just go with Naden because he's the experienced hand? But when I watched him play the other night, I'm going, fuck no, I'm going to pick him because he's been the best player this preseason. Yeah. He looked really good.
He's so talented. He was he did his thing in before the Penrith Grand Final where he's 18th man or whatever. He went out. He was still one of their best players when he came on the field. He killed it. Naden is super, super talented. Big, strong body. In his first year at Penrith, he was outstanding. Scored that 70-metre try on debut or something like that. But I've got to get to your boy, Jermaine Hopgood. Ooh, what a knock.
Good God.
He's looking unbelievable. We'll have to check. So you got your 118 metres, sweet. 4 tackle breaks, that's sweet. 4 offloads, 45 tackles. Fuck me.
Yeah. And without carrying on or anything, this is just him. This is what you'll get in most performances. I know the Penrith Panthers have made a billion very good decisions over the last few years, but when they lost Kikau and they were a bit short on forwards, they needed guys. I can't believe they let this guy go. I cannot believe. And credit to Parramatta for getting their paws on him, because I think he's going to be a star.
Do you reckon Parramatta has offered him starting 13 money?
I would have to assume so, because if not, why would you leave this Penrith side?
Why would Penrith let him go when there's a position on the edge for him?
And people are I think for a lot of people, they've only noticed him since he got man of the match in the grand final. He was doing it all fucking year.
Yeah.
He was no secret. Penrith would have been well and truly aware of what he's capable of. So yeah, mate, to see a guy like him that has been a lot of hype around him, and sometimes that can cripple guys, he loved it.
He was great. He was really, really good, and he made the right decisions at the right time. Just trying to see how many errors did he make. 0 errors.
Yeah.
0 errors with 4 offloads is a fucking great knock.
And it was this same game last year where I spoke about Cotter all pre-season. He went out in this game and he absolutely fucking killed it. And everyone sat back and went, oh, okay. Now he can play. And I think this guy's going to be very similar.
The thing about his style of play, it reminds me of, say, Ruben Cotter or Pat Carrigan, where, there's hype around them, there's pressure around them. Can they live up to the expectations? So like where they're an outside back and they need things to fall around them and the opportunities to crop up, you know he's going to go out there each and every week. He's going to make his 40-plus tackles, have his 10, 15-plus runs, offload, bust a couple of tackles. Safe as houses, that investment.
And, mate, he'll do the same thing against the team coming last as he will to the team coming first. That's just the sort of guy he is. He is tough as nails, and he'd be a huge asset to any football team.
Absolutely. A great showing for a lot of players, to be honest. I didn't really think anyone played shockingly either, which is good. Even the young guys coming through. Great signs for Ricky. Great signs for Cobbo. Great signs for Jermaine Hopgood. Nicho Hines, I mean, Sharkies fans, you must be sitting there going, holy... And we'll get to the Sharkies preview because holy fuck. Outside of that, great signs, Tarpanair. And great signs, Penrith Panthers with Ricky, the Ricky brother.
Yeah. I'll throw one more in there. I'm a Jesse Arthurs man. I think Jesse
he's a bit
Arthurs.
underrated too.
He's got a bit to him, Jesse Arthurs, and I'd like to see him play more NRL this season. He's such a good mover, makes a lot of right decisions, lots of attacking upside. Probably need to watch his defence a little bit closer in the top grade. I don't know if he has his issues there, but yeah, I'm a bit of a believer.
Geez, that was a good line he ran to score that try.
So nice.
That was unreal. Yeah.
And he's quite quick, deceptively big as well. Like, he's not huge or anything like that, but I think sometimes you look at him and go, oh, he's a smaller centre. But actually, when you look at him in contact, he's sweet.
I get some Herbie Farnworth vibes to him.
Yeah, agreed. So, mate, incredible performance. As I said, Ricky Brothers, Selwyn with, minus the errors or whatever, Hopgood, Tarpanair, Hines, great stuff. Now, before our next segment, celebrations in Cameron Park and Dam Hotel Wyong Bottle Shop. Both stores currently have a big stack of Bloke Lager and Bloke Midi at the front of their store, and they're running a promo where every 6-pack or carton purchased of Bloke beer goes in the running to win either a Bloke soccer jersey or a Bloke party shirt. That's right, guys. So if you go down and buy a case of Bloke or a 6-pack of Bloke, whether it be Midi or Lager, at Celebrations Cameron Park or Dam Hotel Wyong Bottle Shop, you have a chance to win a Bloke soccer jersey or a Bloke party shirt. And it's not like you're competing with hundreds of people. Your chances are 1 in 20 or something like that. So head down to Celebrations Cameron Park and Dam Hotel Wyong Bottle Shop. Grab a case of Bloke in a Bar, or even just a 6-pack, and you've got a chance to win a Bloke soccer jersey or a Bloke party shirt. We already had one of the other stores had already given away their winner, and he messaged me. He's fucking stoked. So, head into Wyong Bottle Shop and also Cameron Park. Dam Hotel Wyong Bottle Shop and Celebrations Cameron Park. Alrighty, now on to the first NRL trial. Warriors defeat the Tigers 48-12. I mean, look, disclaimer. We know they're trials, guys. We know that, the results per se don't really hold that much weight, but there is information that we can take from this. They do matter to a degree. So, for example, last year we watched some trials, and some of the big takeaways that we had, they did end up coming true. We thought Storm's forward pack was a bit light, and we were a bit worried about their reserve grade side of things in regards to their depth. Not this year, though. I think actually this year they've improved dramatically. Plenty of other things that we kind of point out. So there is things you can take away from these trial matches, but they are not the be-all and end-all, guys. If your team got towed up or your team did the toweling up, they could come out next week and get absolutely pumped. So it's more just like looking at systems, looking at what the reserve grade players are like, the depth, the way they kind of play, the error count, all that kind of stuff. Now, Warriors defeat Tigers 48-12. I will say this is the best I've seen Warriors look in a round one trial in a very long time. I think that it's really interesting to see the polar opposites in decision-making between the Warriors and the Tigers. And what I mean by that is the Tigers said, you know what, we need to go into the market, need to make some big moves, and we need to get good now. Like, we need to right now be good. So they went out, they got the best back row in the comp, arguably the best 9 in the comp. They got John Bateman, Dalian back rower. They signed a new coach. They got Benji and they got Farah back in. Where the Warriors went the complete opposite route. They said, you know what? we're going to get a bunch of, and this is no disrespect to their recruits. Their recruits are NRL players. I'm not saying they're not. But we're going to get a bunch of battlers that do a job. We know what they're going to give us each week, 6 to 8 out of 10, maybe even 9 on some weeks. And we're going to get an assistant coach, and we're going to build for the next few years. So for them to come out and play the way they did and complete at about 85% in the first half compared to the Tigers' 50%, I'm actually really, really... Before the trial with the Warriors, I was really concerned. I was going into this year going, fuck, I think they might be bottom 4, maybe even fighting for the spoon. After watching that trial, will they play finals footy this year? Probably not. But I'm more confident that we may be seeing the beginnings of building towards something quite good. What do you reckon, Guru?
I agree, mate. There's a number of things that impressed me this Warriors side. Obviously, Metcalf, I thought he was the star of all this. I don't care where, you have to find a spot for him in this team.
I was going to say it later. I genuinely believe if there isn't a lot of pressure on Shaun Johnson now to get that round 1 starting spot, I would be surprised, because those two together, are you telling me they didn't look as good as any combination last year?
Yeah, that's fair. I think that, and I'm more than happy to give SJ. I want to see him first, because I also think, and we'll talk about them in a minute, I thought the Tigers' defence was fucking woeful. And I think SJ wouldn't have, run for 150 metres, but I think SJ could have picked this team apart with his passing game. So
SJ's definitely still the front runner.
Yeah.
But I think the foregone conclusion that no matter what he gets that 7, I think that has been taken away now after the game.
I also don't think Metcalf is a 7 though. I know he played on the weekend a little bit and he did well. I'd be picking him at fullback still.
Was he a 7? I thought he was 6.
He played a bit of both.
Okay.
That was going to be my question. And they looked good together. The side looked great, got around the park well, but is Tamare... Can you give him the keys to the ship, or Metcalf at half? Metcalf, I don't, because I'm with you. I think he's a ball runner. He's a fullback, a ball running 5'8". Yep. So then Tamare, if it is him and Metcalf in the halves at some stage, I just wonder about getting around the park. Who's the commander there? Could they do it?
Well, it's relatively speaking though. Did they do it last year with the combinations they had? Yeah. And so I still absolutely believe Shaun Johnson is the front runner for the number 7 jersey. And right now, if you were to select a side, you would put Shaun Johnson there. But if Tamade Martin and Metcalf come out in the next, there's 2 more trials? One more trial? If they come out and kill it again, and Shaun Johnson struggles again, I do think a question has to be asked.
That's fair.
Maybe Tamade Martin is the 7.
Isn't he a good player, Martin?
He's so silky.
And it's hard because Metcalf's a great option as that utility off the bench at 14, but they've got Dylan Walker there, so there's not really room for him to play that role.
Well, I do think the coach said that Dylan Walker's going to be a centre. I think, if I recall correctly.
I think he said 14.
Did he say 14? Okay, that must 14. Have been where I've just gotten it mixed up. He did say something specifically that I was like, oh shit, that's surprising that he's locked in. It's 14. Yeah. Okay.
But I'll tell you, speaking of the centre role, their defence has always been the big worry for me on the edges. I thought that Braden Villiamy, he was fucking good defensively. And I want to see him get properly tested over the next few weeks. But you have a look. He had 11 tackles, 0 missed. And the guy on the other side, Valia, who's very young and raw, he had 10 tackles for 0 missed.
He was great.
He's the exciting one. Yeah.
But I mean, I know they can both attack. I know they can score tries. I really don't care about that. They need to be able to defend. And they finally showed that the other night. Once again, I do want to see them against better sides and get tested properly, but that was the big positive for me with those two.
Oh, no, I agree. I think we spoke about ad nauseum, attacking wise. They've still got. I think is it Pompey that played in the All Stars. They've attacking wise, they are super impressive, but it's defensively. I agree with you. I thought he was surprisingly I didn't Williami. I just didn't know whether. I was like, is it past him? Because he was at the Dragons, he couldn't get a crack.
He's had a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
Played a fair bit of New South Wales Cup, been over to, I believe, the Catalans as well for a stint. So, which doesn't mean you get older, you refine your game, you get better. Yeah. Doesn't mean he can't crack it, but has had opportunities.
3 try assists. So he's 1992, so he would be about 24, 25?
92, no, he's my age, he's 30.
Jesus.
Close.
Got me maths wrong there.
Yeah, me too.
92 is 30? Wow, I'm old. 35, Guru. Fucking hell. So he's 30 years old. That's interesting. I wonder, do you put him there? Because he did play really well.
Yep.
3 try assists. He, Marcelo Montoya is finally... Remember when he broke out for the Bulldogs? And you're going, fuck, the Bulldogs got this big, rangy winger that, can just bust teams open. And I think he's really finding his form. Because was it the World Cup or like at the end of the season last year where he was killing it?
Well, the start of last season when he was at the Warriors, Peter O'Sullivan was still there. I said to him, he came on the podcast, I said to him off mic, who's been most impressive training? He goes, mate, Marcelo Montoya by a country mile. He's a beast. Yeah, he was blown away with him. And, Peter O'Sullivan knows a thing or two about a good footballer. So that I've been keeping a close eye on him since. And sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't. But the other night, he had a few bad errors to start. But then, mate, when he's on a run, you just can't stop him.
Mate, he's a big, big boy.
I was so sceptical of him over at the Doggies. I was like, I couldn't believe when he was getting starts in the NRL, to be honest. And he's gone over the Warriors and just reinvigorated his career.
I think that initial burst got him those starts at the Doggies the couple of years after, because that initial burst, he did come onto the scene and people were like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout-out. Tom Ale, if that's how you say it. Apologies if it's wrong.
He's a must-watch this year.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Him and Adam Fanua-Blake up front there. Like, that's what I mean. When you see a guy like Tom Ale come out and play the way he does, it changes everything, because you go from, all right, we've got Tohu Harris, Adam Fanua-Blake, we lost Matt Lodge. So, okay, their starting front row is going to be high-quality NRL standard, but what's the rotation going to be like? And then you see a guy like Tom Ale come out, and again, it's just the first trial, like we've got to see him next week. But then you go, that rotation all of a sudden turns into a top-tier rotation in the front row. And
6 tackle breaks.
Mate, he was outstanding. Got
a decent offload on him as well.
6 tackle breaks, 22 tackles, only 1 missed, no errors. And he did all that in 56 minutes.
19 runs for 180 metres.
Really, really impressive. Like, I don't want to get ahead of myself, because the Warriors, we know that they can have these moments and you go, oh, there it is. But I honestly believe this is the closest I've seen them to like that vintage Warriors of a power game through the middle where you're going, fuck, how do they get stopped? I'm excited, bro. I'm excited now. Wouldn't put them in my 8 at the moment, but I just think the club is in the best position after seeing that trial, seeing all those boys stick to a game plan, seeing the low error count, seeing some of these young guys come through, also seeing their recruits that are fringies play the best they can play. And why is that important? How many times do recruits go over there, myself included, at the top of their game, and then don't play anywhere near as good as they can play? Then they go back to their old clubs or whatever, then they play good again. Yeah. Whereas we're seeing fringe first graders playing the best they can play, which is a good sign.
Well, you have a look at all the guys in the back line we spoke about. Martin's new, Metcalf is new, Viliami's new. I thought the fullback was unreal. Tom Pickey, he's exciting. I hadn't heard of him, and someone tipped me off last Tuesday. I went and had a look at his Queensland Cup stats. He was incredible last year. So, I mean, and he's probably going to be their 4th choice fullback. So I really like the direction they're heading. And then, as you said, mate, a heap of battlers in this side, like Jackson Ford, who they had on the left edge. I thought he was good. He's always been solid. And then some of the guys that came off the bench, I forget what jersey number he was. Zion, number 14. His feet were sensational. Ackland came on, jersey 21, and ball played a little bit at the end. He looks very talented. So a lot of positive signs, mate. And like you also then you go through that squad and you consider how many guys have still got to go into that team, how many proper first graders. They're going to be interesting, the Warriors.
Very interesting. And I think, again, it's about like, it's not necessarily the result, it's just the way they played. Like, they had the game controlled the whole time. They were getting to different points on the field. Their backline plays look silky. Like, this is a new coach with essentially an entirely new spine.
Just going back to the Webster comment. So basically, in November, he said Walker will be our 14. This is almost likely. He said Chance was signed as a fullback and it'll be his to lose. Again, this is a couple months ago now, so who knows if that's changed. He didn't say Tohu will play lock, but he's like, yeah, we want to get him playmaking, hands on the ball as much as possible. And then for Jazz Tavanga, he said he'll be extra middle off the bench. So that's what he said last November.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's out for half the season now, though, Jazz.
Oh, yeah, true.
Okay. Look, I think you got to get Luke Metcalf in that side
somewhere.
Do you think it could be 7 Johnson, 6 Luke?
Potentially. I still think he's a fullback, mate. I still think it's his better spot. That's where I'd be playing
And
him.
what chance at centre?
That's what I'd be doing. But now that you've got these 2 centres that have shown they can maybe defend, that does change things for me again. But the thing I worry about with the Warriors is that they need someone with real upside in their spine to be able to break a game open. And Chance is a brilliant footballer. But I don't know if he's a guy that you can throw the ball to and he can create something out of nothing. I think that Chance is a fantastic fullback in a good team that doesn't need their fullback to break it open all the time. But I think the Warriors are going to need that X factor at fullback, in my opinion.
Yeah, really interesting to see how what the selection process is next week. Like, does Metcalf get a start? Does he get on the bench? Or, but outside of that, look, as I said, super early days, just the first trial. But I think that it's exciting times at the Warriors. I really do. And that's coming from a guy a week ago that was going, I'm worried about the Warriors. Like, I'm sitting here going, fuck, I don't. Have they really recruited that well? Did they really replace the people they've lost? Not really. But they look great. Just the way they played, how committed they were, the strength in contact, everything. So exciting. Anyone else that impressed you with the Warriors?
No, I think we've covered most of the ones that impressed me.
Timmy?
All good, mate.
All good. Now on to the Tigers. Look, it is a trial. I will say this. The Tigers are in a unique position where, like, they are a very top-heavy system right now in regards to their starting 17 is light years away from their fringe 17. And so I wouldn't take the way each player played here, I wouldn't take too much, it wouldn't hold too much weight into how they're going to go this year, because these guys are just not as, nowhere near as good as that starting side they're going to run out. I will say it is a concern for the club depth-wise going forward, though, because, you always want to be developing your juniors. And West Tigers, Campbelltown is literally one of the biggest junior places in the fucking country. Anyway, aside from that, obviously it's an inexperienced side, but I will say I was quite disappointed with the way they played. They didn't seem like they'd played much together. They weren't getting to certain points on the field. They dropped a bunch of ball. They were at 50%, 55%, I think, completion rate for a period there. They're going to be someone that could come out next week and fucking blitz a team. And so you just don't know, because, as I said, they've gone very top-heavy, recruited specifically big dogs into their main side, whereas the Warriors have recruited fringies into their first-grade side. So it's going to be hard to tell. But I will say the way they played, the style of rugby league, it just wasn't that great, unfortunately.
Yeah, I expected more out of them. As you said, it looks like they hadn't played much together. I mean, the reality is they probably haven't played a heap together. You've got Wakeham, who arrived there 10 days ago. Riley's come from Union, the 5'8". Charlie Staines' first game at fullback. So, they wouldn't have spent that much time together. But, mate, regardless of how much time you spent together, 48 points, it's just too much. You can't be conceding that many points in a game where you've got unlimited interchanges. No one should be that exhausted. They also weren't out in Western Sydney like some of the other teams in the boiling heat, playing over New Zealand. So there's no reason for them to concede that many points. I think that Tommy Talau, I probably think he maybe played himself out of the round one team the other night. I thought defensively he got caught out on a number of occasions, and it's his first game back. So
it might be a bit rusty.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt whatsoever he's a bit rusty. But I think the Warriors also, and I think Metcalf picked that out very early and really went at him. And I also don't think the Warriors took as much advantage of that as what they could have.
Positive though, Stefano, I thought he was good.
He was fantastic. That's what we spoke about on Wednesday, what we want to see. We want to see Stefano come out and be the main front rower, and he without a doubt was. So there was a lot of things that went wrong for the Tigers, but I'd walk away going, okay, Stefano looks like he's ready this year.
Yeah, looks like it's going to be a big year.
And you know what? You look at that team that they named, probably, Stefano could be the only bloke in their starting 17 come round one. So I'm not as... and I know you both of you boys prefaced it completely by saying it's a trial, it's early days, it's essentially their New South Wales Cup team, but to me, as I said, Stefano's probably the only round one player there for them. So I'm not critical of it at all. Defensive combinations were non-existent. Attacking combinations were non-existent. The fact that Stefano stood up, he was really good for them. That's what I would want to have seen. Justin Matamua was a close watch for me, just around that, can he be the answer to their ball-playing lock conundrum that they're having at the moment? He was okay.
37 tackles, 0 misses is pretty good.
Yeah, he'll get to a point where, if he is a sort of a long-term solution to their 13, they're being a ball-playing lock, he'll learn when to pick his time to pass and when to put the ball under the wing and put his head down and run. So I thought Matamua had some promising enough signs, but I can't be too critical of the Tigers side that was thrown out there.
I think with Matamua, it's really evident he's not ready to do it in round one. But I think you can, as you said, you can see the special skill set there.
There's some glimpses there for sure.
And I love the fact that he's a guy that we're talking about with a bit of upside, as you said. He still went and made 37 fucking tackles.
And missed 0.
Yep.
Which
it's
is
great
like,
to see.
That's just pure attitude. Pure attitude.
And that's always your worry with these young forwards that come through that are known for their ball skills. They can get away with not doing as much work if they want. He did the opposite, which was great to see.
Yeah. So, as I said, it's one of those really hard ones to judge because they truly are such a top-heavy side. They could come out next week and belt a side, and you'd be like, well, of course, like Papali'i, Api Coruscant. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I will say I still am a little bit concerned at like their game plan and their choices, where the way they're playing. Like it did seem they wanted to spread it quite a lot, and I think that like it's very hard to do that in this day and age because teams just watch so much video. As soon as they see that formation, they don't like 10 years ago or maybe longer. I don't know. If that happens, they go, oh, shit, let's slide. Let's slide. We'll give them the meters. Use it at sideline. Nowadays, they go, nah, no chance. We are screaming up. And if you want to get around us, you better throw the ball all the way over our head and risk losing it. So it's not like dire signs at all for the Tigers. It is a question mark over their depth and how good is their depth. For example, and I know they're the benchmark, but if you were to... So Penrith put out their New South Wales Cup side, and this is essentially New South Wales Cup side for Tigers. And the difference is like...
It's night and day.
It is crazy. And that's a bit... it's not a bit unfair. It is really unfair because the Penrith are number one and they just did all those record-breaking things. But Campbelltown is just as big as the Penrith area in regards to how much talent comes out of there.
The thing that worried me with this Tiger side is that you could tell early on their combinations were gone. They were just gonna have to hang in this game. They went into half time at 14-0. Like if I was a coach in that situation, I think they would have said to them, "Hey, we just want your defense. We just want you to show up in defense in this second half." They conceded 6 tries. That was my biggest disappointment there from the Tigers.
Yeah. So look, outside of that, the real positive is Stefano because he is a game changer. Like you put him in the front row, and if he has a big year, he can genuinely be the difference between them being in the top 8 and not being in the top 8. Whereas like if he struggles this year, do they have someone else to fill that void in that front row role like Stefano can do? So that's the real positive. If you a forward pack with a firing Stefano, Papali'i, Johnny Bateman is a top 8 forward pack. It really is.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be too concerned, Tigers fans, at all. I think most Tigers fans are aware their depth is a little bit shallow. But it'll be interesting to see how they go next week. That's where you can really judge, like, what's their game plan like. Where Luke Brooks and Adam Dewey are a very different kettle of fish to no disrespect to Wakeman and Riley, but I mean we're talking quite a difference, substantial. So, and also in defence of Wakeham, like he got there fucking 10 days ago or something. Like, you can't expect him to just roll in and fucking run the joint. Like,
I'm happy to put a red line through that Tigers that game. Like I wouldn't be concerned at all.
All right, anything else on the Tigers?
They played Fanua Bowl on the edge. I think that'll be the last time you see him out there. I just think he's a middle. He's a middle that has to stay there.
Big
I don't
boy.
think you'll see that
Big
again.
thick boy.
The only one I wanted to mention is it Kapoa, the centre?
Looks massive.
I thought he was Stefano a couple of times.
So
He's
fucking
huge.
big. So fucking big. If they can sort out their defence or whatever, like he could be a great centre. Great centre. He is so fucking big, bro. Like,
he was massive the other night. Yeah.
He got to be over 100 kilos.
Has he always been that big? Like he's put on weight this off season.
I thought he came into the grade like real like quick and quite wiry.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, it's a scary prospect, especially in attack. Okay, now Knights versus the Sharkies. Sharkies defeat the Knights 28-16. I tell you what, the Sharkies right now for me, outside of Penrith, when I look at their guys coming through, I cannot believe for for the life of me that this club has turned around this quickly. 2 years ago, or a season ago, they weren't even in the 8. And who was talking about like their juniors or anything like that? They roll around into this year and like the number 7 who came from Penrith, granted, but Peru, apologies if I'm saying that incorrectly, like he won't play first grade this year unless there's an injury. And he was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. On top of that, like they've still got Trindle who won't start in first grade outside of Matty Moylan or Hines going down. Peru was so good that, if it's Puru, maybe Puru, he was so good that like I could make an argument that maybe he leapfrogs Trindle in a couple of years if Trindle doesn't get in there first. You know, like Moylan will retire in a year or two.
Based on that game, I would say almost definitely. I thought he was tremendous. And I assume he probably doesn't have the stats to back it up to make it sound as good as what we're saying, but his control and he just knew when to pull the trigger. His timing was perfect every single time. I thought he was very impressive and, shocked me from the Penrith system.
From the Penrith system, but like the Sharks, whoever is taking care of their recruitment over the last 2 years, it's arguably the best, it's easily the most underrated. For example, they lose a bunch of fullbacks. They go out and get Atkinson. Yeah. He comes and kills it. Like, that's Storm-level recruitment. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what the Storm do, where you go, oh, fuck, the Storm have lost 6 fullbacks. They're going to be terrible. And then Pappenhausen comes out of nowhere and kills it.
Do you know where Atkinson's come from?
Yeah.
Storm, yeah. But he didn't even have a club. Yeah. He was up at Sunshine Coast.
Yeah. We sat there all last week just panicking about who plays fullback if Kennedy goes down. This bloke comes out, kills it, just like... The recruitment's unbelievable.
Unbelievable there.
Concern about, Fafita retiring, Tolman retiring, a couple of these older blokes. And then in the forward pack, Tommy Hazelton, Golden Boy, I believe, killed it for them. Mate. Jack Williams was solid in his first game back from a long hit out. Oregon Kafusi was great. Like, depth out the woo-ha.
Kafusi was hilarious because I was like, fuck, that 25's got a bit about him. And they're like, oh, it's fucking Kafusi. Yeah. Of course he has a bit about him. He's a gun. Look, Sharkies... They are genuinely building towards a powerhouse.
Mate, the one that caught my attention was that centre, Iro. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I've heard it both ways.
And he's been around the traps a little bit, I think, in the sense that like he's not 18.
But he's good.
He's strong in contact.
His touches. He's incredible. He like when I was watching him, and he didn't have a huge breakout game or anything, but like he looks like Val Holmes when he first burst onto the scene. He moves laterally
7 tackle breaks.
So quick. Fuck.
Also played fullback for the Cook Islands at the World Cup. So
I said last week that I thought he would be the fullback now.
Good sort. Hot cunt.
He's a good looking rooster. The depth is very impressive.
It is like, and then you got Hiroti who had 5 tackle breaks. Like Rodwell had 3. Stone Street. I don't know how they did it so quickly. For example, when you look at Penrith, I don't know how their first grade did it so quickly, Penrith, but you look at it and you go, well, I understand why their juniors are so good. That's the heartland of rugby league. Like, all you need to do is make sure the systems are good. The Sharkies, it's like they woke up one morning and became the Melbourne Storm of recruitment. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to win a premiership this year, but with Nico Hines playing the way he is, they should definitely challenge for one. And they weren't even in the 8 the year before. It's incredible.
The other thing, and I don't want to digress from the team that ran out on the weekend too much, but their versatility across their squad, like the utility value of all these players. You go through it, you've got Talakai at centre, who can slot into the back row. Morley Taylor, who can go to fullback if required. Moylan and Hines, who can go to fullback if required. Britton Nakora, who can slot in at centre when needed. Cam McInnes, hooker, edge, middle, wherever. Like, they are so covered in every position for any injuries that happen throughout the game, throughout the year, and then a few of these new blokes who pop their head up on the weekend. Like,
it's crazy.
And we're talking versatility. You didn't even mention Connor Tracy.
Connor Tracy. It's mental. Oh. Tommy Hazelton, a try, 14 runs, 128 metres, 31 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 30 tackles, only 1 missed, no errors. He's off the bench.
It sounds like he was already locked in for a bench spot before this game, but I think you can just about guarantee that he'll be there now.
Mate, he's a big, tall, rangy fella, gets through his work. It's amazing what they're doing there. Like, yes, it's a trial, and as I said, they could come out and struggle at the start of the season, but from what I saw a really good depth. Really, really good depth.
So who else I thought looked incredible, who I'll be the first one to admit, I've never rated him. Jack Williams. I've got to swallow some humble pride here. I thought he did really well the other night.
All right, mate.
You happy with that?
We all make our mistakes. Don't doubt a Coombe Stallion. You've learnt your lesson.
Wade Graham at 6 was okay as well.
Wade Graham was great at 6.
Like, what the fuck? What do you reckon that means, him at 6? Do you reckon they're doing that for cover? Like, just to prepare?
I think Wilton will start in that back row spot, and I love Wade, but I think Wilton's the best guy to go with at the moment.
And Wade off the bench, you reckon?
Maybe. It's hard to fit him in. It really is. As crazy as it sounds, it's hard to find a spot for Wade in this side because when he played a little bit of middle last year, I don't think it worked overly well. And I felt like that edge, that left edge, it changed a lot when you have a look at the season of Sifa Talakai, you can literally see in his stats how it changes when Wilton went from that edge and Wade went there. It's interesting. So I'd be starting Wilton on the left edge, and I know you've got to find a spot for Wade somewhere. I'm just not sure where it is.
Mate, what exciting times. Like, Atkinson didn't even have a club, to my understanding. So he played for Italy in the World Cup. Then I think he had signed with Sunshine Coast. How is he not in a first grade squad? Like, out of all the squads that need fullbacks, like Raiders, for example. Like, they would kill for a guy like Atkinson.
If I was an NRL club, I would be putting a recruitment manager on the Sunshine Coast. Yeah. There are so many guys at the Falcons. They are constantly producing 6, 7s and 1s that should be in the NRL. It's unbelievable. Shout out to Chris Flannery and them up there. They're doing a great job.
Cooper Johns goes playing for Manly. It was his best game of his career.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, Sharkies look, fantastic. It's going to be interesting to see where Iro fits. Again, like, these are the kind of games, if I'm clubs, I'm watching so closely because there's guys like Iro, Hiroti to a degree, Atkinson. You're going to get him on minimum wage to your squad. But also, they're at a club where they're probably not going to get a start unless there's injury. So they're going to be willing to move to get a start somewhere.
I reckon Iro could move Talakai back into the forwards.
You reckon?
I reckon he's that fucking... I thought some of his touches were unbelievable the other night. I think you've got to find a spot for him.
If you're the Raiders, do you reach out to Atkinson?
Well, sure, but the Sharkies still need their backup fullback, so there's not a chance he'd leave.
But do you reckon let's say Raiders had room in their cap for 300 or 400K?
Oh, mate, he's played one game. I'll put the brakes on it for a second and just...
I wouldn't say sign him. I'm not saying right now. I'm saying
12 months down the track.
No, not even 12 months. Like, you guys start the season 4 weeks in. You desperately need a fullback.
Yeah.
He's killing it in New South Wales Cup. Do you put the word into him?
I'd be putting the word into him for sure. What that price would be, I need to see a lot more first.
He would be like...
He was good. He was very good.
He wouldn't even be on... Like, I'm not sitting here saying he's going to go down there and fucking be the next Tedesco. But I think that he's proven he can be at least at a solid standard in NRL where you're going to get good, 150, 200 metres out of him, decent ball playing. So, yeah, really, really interesting times. The Sharkies, their recruitment, their admin, Craig Fitzgibbon, like, seriously, if they didn't all get massive bonuses this last year, they better get them this year because it is incredible. I mean, Peru was like, just the way so many young fellas like that, you go, oh, here we go. He's going to be supernaturally gifted, mad footwork. He's going to do all the, for every 2, crazy plays he doesn't pull off, he'll pull off a crazy play, and so that will excuse the poor plays or whatever. But when you look at guys like Katoa and Peru, with all the footwork, all the skill set, but they've got the structure as well, you go, mate, you can be whatever you want to be. You have everything that any 7 ever wanted. And I agree with you, Guru, in regards to just the way he moved, his decisions, his the field management of like where they get to on the field, his kick choices. I thought he was outstanding for a young fella.
Yeah, he was. And just back to that forward pack, like if you've got that big fella that came off the bench, Hazelton, like I always think it's really important with forward packs to have different body shapes. And he's like, you've got Hamlin Uele, you got like Toby Rudolph, these guys, they're all completely different shapes. I think it's such a good thing to have. Oregon Kafusi, like I've never noticed it before. His play the ball is rapid, Kafusi. Yeah,
does it all the time at the Eels.
Yeah,
all the time.
I couldn't believe how quick. I wasn't sure if it was just because it was a trial that he looked faster than everyone else, but he was so quick in his play the ball.
Look, it's just such exciting times at the Sharkies. They were outstanding. Got great depth. Great young coach, great everything. They got the Dally M Player of the Year at 7, crazy times. Now onto the Knights. Again, just a trial. There were some shining lights in my opinion. I am still a bit concerned with the forward pack though.
Yep.
Bit concerned with the forward pack. I actually thought Jack Johns looked quite good. I thought he looked explosive. I thought he looked fresh. I know Fitzgibbon is like a veteran there, but I think Jack Johns should be putting pressure on him to get that starting spot because although Lockie Fitzgibbon, good solid NRL player, the Knights they're not in a position to be guaranteeing positions. They need to be saying, no, we need to pick the best right now in certain positions. So I actually think Jack Johns may put quite a bit of pressure on Lockie Fitzgibbon to keep that spot. I know Lockie Fitzgibbon's been through a bunch of injuries, so I'm not saying he won't get it. I'm just saying that after watching their forward pack on the weekend, I think they need to create an environment where no jersey is guaranteed.
Yep.
Because at the moment, they just didn't have the oomph, I don't know. What do you guys reckon?
I'll tell you one jersey that is guaranteed, the hooker jersey, Jaden Brayley. I thought when he went off, it was a completely different football side. I know they've got Kurt Mann in there and stuff, even when he jumped into 9. I don't think they can afford to not play Brayley for 80 minutes.
Agreed. And this is coming from a guy that, to hooker. I think he is so important to them and gives them so much direction. It's honestly laughable. It's crazy.
Yeah, and, I think the Saifidis, they're going to have a huge season this year for Newcastle to go well. I personally thought the 4 Cronulla front rowers were better on Friday night. It is only a trial, it's game 1, but I was really hoping that similar to Stefano for the Tigers, we'd see Daniel and Jacob come out and go, fuck, this is our team now. We're going to tear it apart. I just didn't see it from them.
Yeah, when you compare these forward packs to some of the other top tier ones, it's do they have that extra gear? I mean, we know the Saifidi brothers do because they've both played Origin and played really well in Origin. So we know they do. Can they do it each week in, week out?
Well, they were the big watch, weren't they? Come into this trial for Knights fans and footy fans out there just saying, all right, Clem's gone. Who's going to step up and, hit the next level of their career? And you sort of want it to be the Saifidi boys, in particular Dan Saifidi. And look, they were fine. They played okay, but there was nothing that sort of suggested that they'd taken the next step from what we saw last year. They were okay. I suppose pass mark.
Okay is not going to do it this year. They need to go above and beyond for this team to be relevant, and that might be unfair on them, but that's the reality of their
Adam
situation.
Elliott, as we've spoken about a lot, he'll breathe a lot of life into the pack. Yeah. Maybe he's the man. But again, he can't do it all himself.
Yeah. He will be a big difference at 13 if they play him at 13. He'll force players to go with him, I think.
When I compare these two sides, though, I think the big difference is that the Sharks, their middle forwards go and do their job. Then Cam McInnes comes on, and it just goes to another level. All of a sudden, your leg speed explodes. I look at Newcastle when the Saifidis go off. I'm going, hopefully they can hold on for the next 25 minutes.
I'll tell you what Adam Elliott will do to this club, and probably an unheralded part of his game is the 1%ers. And when I say 1%ers, it's when Daniel Saifidi or Jacob Saifidi are going up, one off the ruck, no one in support, Adam will be there in support.
Yeah.
Which means the Saifidi boys are getting these one-on-one contacts and getting quick play the balls, and everything off the back of that just becomes better. Adam's 1%ers are exceptional. He'll run decoys, he'll push support all day. That's where that energy will change things, even if he's not running the ball.
It's a good point. It's a really good point. He will, and that you'd be surprised how much that can change a forward pack's mentality when you've got one guy doing it. So the Knights is interesting. It's not like I wasn't sitting there going, Knights are headed for the spoon here. Not at all. It was more, I just wanted to see, the one thing that when I watched them last year, just that energy in the forward pack. To be fair, look, they've got Tyson Frizzell to come back.
Yep.
They've got Adam Elliott to come in. Who else got to come in that forward pack?
It's
Leo
not that
Thompson,
far off the mark.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're not missing as much as other teams that we'll talk about today, and that's the worry. You're relying on Leo Thompson, Jack Hetherington, these sort of guys to go to a new level, and then for the Saifidi boys to be better than what they have been as well. So, I thought there was a guy that came off the bench, Ben Tauti. I've never heard of him before, never seen him, but he went north and south, and he just had a crack.
Yeah, he was good. He was good. I thought Adam Clune when he came off the bench.
He was great.
He was actually pretty good.
And they didn't do him any favours either.
No. Come on, what, with 10 to go or something like that, and he had a try assist.
Fuck, that right to left pass he's got.
Oh,
he's crazy.
So good. Anyone else that I like? The Tyson Gamble Hastings. I mean, we did see one part like initially with that try where he hits Fitzgibbon on the short ball, and then Fitzgibbon offloaded. Where you go, okay, that's where you've got this like high quality 7 that can make his outside runners hit certain holes. They weren't really on for that long together, though, were they? It was 40 minutes max.
Yeah. So what
very hard to get it.
I'm not sure if Jackson played the whole first half. It was and. Once again, Brayley didn't. He went off after about 25, which made such a difference. I thought the centre, Dylan Lucas, he was okay. I don't think he's going to break out into a superstar or anything, but he was probably the pick of the backs for me.
Yeah, outside of that, again, it's just okay, I guess. I wasn't sitting there going, this is a disaster, but there wasn't that much to excite me either where I was going, oh shit, fuck, look out.
But I mean, I think it all just comes down to KP with that side.
It really does.
Hastings will direct them in the right spots, but you still need the cream on top to take advantage of that, and that's KP.
Did you see the story recently, and surely this isn't true, that some clause is activated in his contract and he'll get $1.4 million this year? Did you see that?
Hope it's true for KP.
Surely that's not true, though. Surely that's not true. It's got to be a GR.
Hope so.
I mean, fuck, good on you, KP, for getting that cash if that's the case. But what could activate though as well? Like, what could have activated?
Happened?
Yeah, like nothing's happened. Anyway, just a side note. Anything else with the new and nice boys? I just want to wait and see them next week. I don't want to be too harsh on them now because it's a trial. We just don't know. They weren't terrible by any stretch, but also they weren't. Put it this way: I watched the Sharks and was going, "Wow, holy shit." But I just didn't get that same vibe with it.
And it's, there's a few teams who are at the bottom of the ladder last year that that we've gone, oh, geez, they've got some good juniors like the Warriors and stuff. But all those top 6 teams from last year, I'm sitting there going, fuck, there's a handful of guys that really impressed me that I don't think I'll see in first grade this year, but they've got the depth there that's important. It's a good sign of the good systems.
It just says it's a clause. It doesn't say what it is or anything. So
I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. Like, what clause could possibly be activated around this time that would make him get 1.4? That's insanity.
Yeah, when he hasn't trained in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre. Anyway, so take that with a grain of salt, guys. Don't believe the 1 point. I mean, you can if you want, but I don't know.
He hasn't been re-injured in 3 weeks, and it's just activated $1.4 million clause.
That was in the clause. Like, just don't get injured. Craziness. Absolute craziness. Stuff like that. Like, look, if it is true, then I'm wrong. I apologise. But stuff like that, it's like really unfair on guys like KP because it's like, mate, if it's not true, there's a bunch of people out there that think he's on $1.4 million. Yep. So everyone, when he has a bad game, is going, like, even if he has just an 8 out of 10, they're going, mate, you're on 1.4. Like, it's like when Val Holmes got signed by the Cowboys, he came out like a year or so later. He said, I'm not on $1 million. But all the reports were he's on $1 million and he was on like, I think it was like 850 or 900 or whatever, which is still close. But again, it's still not that $1 million tag where you're going, mate, you better be winning this premierships. Yeah. Even though Val, has shown his worth. Now, Rabbitohs versus Manly. This was an interesting one because there's a period there where I was a bit disappointed with Manly, where I was like, ooh, I'm not feeling it. But then obviously they came back and they get the win. Now, that's the kind of like the nature of trials where you're chopping and changing and bringing people on, putting them into trying different things where it can be one half you're sitting there going, I'm not sure about this one. The next half you're going, oh, wow, okay. So with Manly, I thought Vega was good. I thought Ethan Bullimore was good. I thought their hooker, Chan Kum Tong, apologies if I'm getting that wrong. I thought he had some really good moments, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 38 tackles, only 2 misses, 50 metres run, no errors. In a position where Lockie Croker, obviously he gets that 9 jersey, but we speak about it as nauseum. He's a good, solid 9, but he's not a specialist 9. Now, he may grow into that this year because he gets an extra year to play. It's no knock on him. He just hasn't been playing it. He came through the grades as a 6 or a 7. 6, didn't he? I think he debuted.
He was a 6. Yeah, 6 at the Raiders.
But, like, it's good signs for Manly that a guy like Chan Kum Tong is, shows some promise because he could be that 9 long term. Outside of that, I thought Fainu had some good moments. Zach Fulton came on, ripped and teared. Fafita had some moments. So, decent signs for Manly.
I reckon Ben Trbojevic has been to the gym over the last few months.
Oh, how big does he look?
Fuck. He's
Fucking
huge.
hell, he's actually huge. What do you reckon, Guru?
Pretty much the guys you highlighted. I thought Bullamore's leg speed was fantastic throughout that game. Cooper Johns, I think that was the best game I've seen him play ever.
So good.
It was very impressive. I personally didn't think Cooper had that game in him from what I've seen so far. So credit to him. I thought he played really, really well.
I hope Matty doesn't mind me saying this, but Cooper was just going to stop playing footy. He was at the point where he was like, you know what? Should I keep?
Really?
Yeah. Should I keep doing or not? Maybe, maybe not. Got the gig for Manly. He's like, all right, I'll give it one last crack. Again, I hope Matty doesn't mind me saying this, but
but he looked like he was enjoying himself out there the other night too, which I think when you see him off field and you see how much a good guy is, how funny he is, that didn't seem to translate to me when he was on the field for Melbourne. I'm not sure if maybe there was too much structure. There for Cooper potentially. He looked much more at home playing for Manly the other night. I thought he did really well. I thought the fullback, Jake Toby, scored a couple of tries, made a stack of errors, but he, similar to what I spoke about before, he just didn't care. Fuck it, I'm keen to make the next one. Let's go.
Yep. 2 tries, a try assist, 3 errors.
And I think he's played a bit of halfback, or played a lot of halfback in reserve grade too. So for him to jump into the 1 jersey, that would have rattled guys with the start that he had, to still bounce back and score 2 meaties. It's good night.
Yeah, agreed. I thought Tui Pelotu, again, another 200 plus metres, 5 tackle breaks, a couple one-on-one tackles. What about you, Timmy? Who stood out for you in the Manly side?
You mentioned Toby and a few of his stats. They just talk about making a fist of an opportunity. I've spent a bit of time with Blacktown workers in recent seasons, and 24 runs in a trial game.
Fuck.
Amassed a stack of attacking numbers as well in this one. And as I said, just the ability to bounce back from a rough start and making some mistakes. We look at this trial and go, all right, doesn't mean too much, a lot of reserve graders, but to these guys, this could be their one and only opportunity to play at, not NRL level, but against NRL quality opposition.
Yeah.
So he's come in, put the bad start behind him and killed it in the back end, I thought. So he's one that I'll certainly be keeping an eye out for. 24 years old, so still some development in him. But there was a good sign for the depth of Manly.
I thought the centre was good too. Fletcher Myers, I haven't seen him play before. He had a pretty handy game, come with a couple of try assists. I think he ran for just over 100 metres. I thought he just one I hadn't seen before that looked solid.
Do you think Cooper Johns, playing at 6? Did he play at 6 or 7? I thought he played 7. Anyway, do you think Cooper Johns playing as well as he did, let's say he continues to play like this, does it put pressure on Schuster? Is there a world where 12 games in, Schuster gets moved to the edge, Cooper Johns and DC at 6-7?
Yeah, I think quite possibly. I think the big problem I have with Manly at the moment is their middles, and I think an answer to that could be later in the season, moving Schuster into the 13 and Gerbo into the front row. In which case that would open up a spot for Cooper Johns. I believe young Fino, I think he's on a development contract this year.
Okay.
So I reckon the conversation will get interesting round 11, round 12 when he's available. But yeah, I think that Schuster's locked in to play round 1. But if he's not playing 5'8" in round 15, I won't be shocked.
Yeah, it's interesting how, you've got players like DC and Tom Trbojevic who are literally some of the best players in the comp. But Manly's future really does hang around Schuster's shoulders. If he doesn't fire, do they make the 8?
Depends on Tom, I guess.
Yeah,
but I mean, if I had to pick a player that I think would be more suited to just getting the best out of Tom Trbojevic, Cooper Johns had me thinking the other night. Just a steady hand that you know what you're going to get. He doesn't have to be spectacular. So I'm glad that he had that performance the other day, because I think that also says to Schuster, you got to keep it your best.
Yeah, and you still got KO Weeks as well, the young fella that can play in the halves. So look, Manly, seeing this depth and the way they played definitely gave me more confidence probably heading into this year that because there were players that excited me in key positions. So it's good to see, if you've got your 9, your 7, you're 13, you're 1, killing it in a trial and essentially every single one of them is a reserve grader. Yeah, like Ethan Bullimore might jag a bench spot. That's a really good sign, and it's a good sign for Siebes as well. They responded to him. They're behind him.
I thought coming off the bench, Viliami Fafita, he was jersey 17. He had a couple of really nice touches too. So plenty of positives there for Manly.
Anything else on Manly?
No, I think I'm done.
All good.
All good. Now, on to the Rabbitohs. I thought their number 6 was really, really impressive. I fucking like this kid.
He was incredible. He was, and early in the game, he turned someone under him. He did what JT used to do. He turned the guy under him, but he passed it to him there at top pace. And I watched him go, fuck, that was like, you know how easy that is to screw up. And he did it twice. I thought, fuck, he's got a bit of ability. And then I don't think people spoke about it enough, but his first try assist to the winger, Tom Carr, he dropped it on the outside of his foot and he curved it just through on a perfect arc into the in goals. Like, that kick was from 15 metres out. At worst case scenario, it was always going to be a line dropout. It was a perfect touch. And then even when Tom Carr made the break down the short side and he threw it back on the inside, the way that he grabbed the ball in the air, there was just something special about him all night. It was very Cody Walker.
I was going to say, there's a bit of Cody Walker about him.
How old is he, do we know?
I think he's relatively young.
Just coming out of SG Ball.
I think he played
Fleek?
SG last year.
Okay.
2000, yeah. I was going to say, competition debut, 10th to the 2nd. Oh, no. So, yeah. So, I'd say he'd still be in his teens, I'd say. 20 at the most.
Yeah, 19, 20, I'd say.
You know, so, again, these are the signs you want to look for at your club where, you know, well, I'll get to Para because I'm actually concerned about Para. But these are the signs where you look for, you go, okay, key position, Cody Walker. How old is he? He's relatively old. Most likely will retire in the next year or two. You know, Cody Walker's the kind of player that he might be able to play till he's bloody 40. That's how good he is. But let's just assume naturally nature takes its fucking course and he's too old, he retires in 2 years. This is what you want to look at your club is like, who is the next guy up? How is he developing? How old is he? What kind of style of footy does he play? And then when you see guys like Tuapa, I believe. Tuapa?
Yeah.
When you see Tuapa play like this, you go, oh, like, it's kind of like the Lockie Ilias situation. You know, when he was coming through, you go, oh, my club's in good hands for the next whatever amount of years. Whereas there are some clubs out there, you look at the guy that played 6 or 7 in this game and you go, like, I don't think that he's going to kick on to be what we need him to be.
And the thing that I loved about him was that by the 20th minute, he'd scored 2 tries and he had a try assist. Like, he could have put his feet up at that point and go, my job's done. He still made 24 tackles and only missed 2.
Yeah.
And like that they were going at him, so I was really impressed with him all round.
Timmy, who impressed you, mate?
Not so much impressed with in this game, but the big watch, as soon as Hame Sele went down injured, off the back of the news of Saliva Havili being injured now for half the season, Bunnies have got they just look a little bit light on in the forwards for me, and the bloke that, it's Davey Moali, who's, I think he's going to have to fill a big role vacated by these two now. Now, Sele, was it a broken arm or something? Or
No,
it was a car.
leg injury. So hopefully nothing too serious. But Moali's the one who I think is going to be picking up bigger minutes in the early stages of the season. He was okay in this one, but he's got a big role.
Yeah, it's a good point. Especially like, I think Tom Burgess is off contract this year as well. You've got Totola. But outside of that, they are a little bit light on forwards. You've got Liam Knight, who's currently injured. You've got Jacob Host, who had been injured, and he's just coming back. I will say I thought Tallis Duncan was really good. I thought he was a battler.
He's one that was at the Roosters a couple of years ago, and they were very high on him. And he was this size when he was 15.
Okay.
So he was just folding people left, right, and centre. And then the last 2 years when I've watched him play, he hasn't been that great, not what I expected. But then for South the other night, you could see it again.
Yeah, for sure. I thought he was good. Outside of that, Grossamy coming on, he was good.
So underrated. It's not even funny.
Like just battling through it. So, yeah, I'd say, like, was there people in their forward pack that really, like, screamed out at me, like, oh, wow, like, for example, a Wong for the Roosters or whatever? Maybe not, but I do think that the emergence of their 6th, the fact that Blake Taffe's shown again that he is a quality player. He'll do a job for you. He'll get through his work. I think it's, really good signs for Rabbitohs. And also, when you look at the squad they put out, this is what? So who would actually play first grade here? Who would be starting? I don't think there's a single starter here. Maybe Richard Kenner gets a start on the wing. Maybe.
Yeah, still a long shot. Yeah, so I don't think there's anyone there that when they're fully strength, and I reckon there's only 2 or 3 that'll be on the bench.
So you'd probably have Jacob Host on the bench, Moali, Selly, maybe Cheekham.
Maybe Taff if he gets 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd...
So it's a genuine reserve grade side. There's not really any... So I thought they made a good account of themselves. I really do. And that's not to say, you could say the same for Manly. They really only had Tui Pilotu, Ben Travojevic will be in their side, Sipley will be in their side. So they had probably 3 NRL players. What do you think about the Rabbitohs, Matty?
First of all, I thought the game I was thoroughly entertained. It was good to watch. But yeah, my big one was Tallis Duncan. I was really looking forward to seeing Benny Lovett, but he didn't play that much. They put him on the right edge in the second half, and he didn't get a chance to do a lot. But so that was who I was looking at. I wasn't really looking at Tallis Duncan, but yeah, he really impressed me. I really like the look of him, and also to your point before, Timmy, now that Sele's gone, and I actually thought that Sele might start at prop this year. So, and I thought Tommy Burgess might come off the bench. I think it worked a bit last year, so it's going to be interesting to see that kind of rotation now that he's out, now that Havili's out as well. So, yeah.
The other kid just in this South team, and he didn't get as many touches as I would have hoped, is the centre Karapani. Very, very talented. You didn't see his best the other night, but I think you'll see him over the next few years for South. Have you seen him play, Matty?
There was quite a. Are you talking about the tall, rangy, physically impressive?
He's playing left centre. Yeah, his touches and his movements are all very impressive. He's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, because there was one player where I was physically looks
That's
impressive
him.
as. Yeah. Okay, yep. And you're right. Statistically, doesn't really jump. I mean, he basically made 100 metres from 10 runs, which is 10 metres a run, which is bloody great for a centre. But there, just the way he moves, you're right. There was something there that you go, oh, athletically, this kid.
He could be a first grade centre very quickly, I think. Yeah.
I thought Tass in the Indigenous Games defence was outstanding.
Yep.
Anyway, on to the next game, Panthers Eels. I do think the score kind of masks this game a bit in regards to, I thought Penrith, even though in the first half the Eels were dominant ball possession wise, I don't think the game was as close. I mean, it's a trial, so it doesn't fucking matter. Because when I looked at the Penrith side, there were a number of players, including the winger, for example, where Jesse McLean, holy shit, 190 metres, 4 tackle breaks, line breaks, a try. But there were a number of players in this side where I was going, I am excited about this kid. God. Whereas I looked at the Eels, and I've got to be honest, I didn't really... Okay, for example, when I hate talking about him because I'm not trying to join the absolute wankers that are off Jacob Arthur because he's a coach's son. That's ridiculous. But I am a little bit concerned of if he's the next guy up, is he going to be the guy to lead the Eels to top tier footy? I'm just not sure. A guy like Jacob Arthur in a game like that. So Jacob Arthur has played in a grand final. He's played, let's just say, 10 NRL games, probably more now, maybe even 20. He should be dominating games like that. And look, it's only one game, guys, so I'm not sitting here saying put a line to him at all. But these are the kind of games where a guy like Jake Arthur, you sit back and go, oh, wow, they've got this gun stuck behind Mitch Moses. But I was a bit... He did come alive at the end for sure, no denying that. He had a try assist and all that, a line break assist at least. But yeah, I just was a bit the Eels' depth doesn't seem to be as strong as I would assume the Eels' depth would be.
Yeah, if you watched the Cronulla halfback and you watched Jacob Arthur and you had to guess which one had the experience, you would guess the Cronulla halfback every day of the week based on the weekend.
Even the Rabbitohs 6?
100%.
You talk about that and saying, yeah, he should be dominating a game like this. Parramatta, they put up a pretty damn good forward pack for this game against a genuine, again, Penrith, New South Wales Cup side. There's hardly a player in that team who's going to be anywhere near the 17 for round one. Taruva will play on the wing, and that's only because Taylor May's out. So, he should have had the platform there behind Sean Lane, Ryan Madison, Josh Hodgson, Offiki Ogden, a lot of NRL quality talent there. Penrith still just found a way to get it done. It's only a trial, but they just don't like losing games of footy, do they?
They really don't,
Jesus.
seriously. I mean, there were some blokes off the bench. Tony Martelli, I think his name is. He got through a bunch of work. But I just, a little bit concerned. Like, even with... Look, I feel really unfair saying this because it's his first game back from ACL, but I do think Hodgson was quite rusty. And I wonder whether, like... Is that age or is that rustiness from an injury? We don't know. Again, I'm 90% sure it's injury for sure. But that small worrying little voice that goes, is he just a bit slower now? Like, that's a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I'm the first one to question Josh Hodgson, have been all off season. I think that him being 33, first game in 12 months, it's about 38 degrees out there as well. I'm not going to, and I know you aren't either, but I'm not going to judge him too heavily off that. Yeah, he had a couple of nice things, but I'm not selling all my Josh Hodgson stocks just yet, which I know you're not, but I'm going to give him a few more weeks before I make my call.
Yeah, to be clear, and as everyone knows, I'm not saying he's not, and I know you're saying as well. But at the same time, I'm sure there was a party that was like, oh, shit. Like, this is Josh Hodgson we're talking about. We're not talking about fucking, you're just a normal 9 that comes in. Like, we're talking about one of the best 9s on his day. So there was a little voice in me that was like, oh, is it rust or is it age? Again, I think it's just rust from the injury, but the question has to be asked. It has to be asked. He's 33 years old or whatever. Yeah. Timmy, what did you think about the Eels?
Mate, the one-time West Tigers cult hero, Zach Seeney, couldn't put the big fella down. I thought he had some really good moments, looked real lively in attack.
10 tackle breaks.
Yeah, and
it was Strawberry versus Strawberry.
Yeah, it was
Strawberry versus Strawberry. That's the first thing I noticed.
And the kid that was marking him, Tom Jenkins, he's normally a good defender.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Seeney did a job on him. Yeah.
And I thought I like Seeney. Was it 2 years ago now at least when he killed at the Tigers and he sort of fell off.
He was a cold hero.
Yeah, he fell off the face of the earth, and that was in a Tigers side that wasn't producing much. So I'm surprised you haven't seen more.
I think he went to the Sharks.
Yes,
and then he went to Para.
Yeah, I mean, he was the shining light for me at Para, for sure.
Yeah. I thought Sydney was good, solid, for sure. No, not more than solid. He was good. But, yeah, just back to that Jake Arthur question, like, because the thing is, it seems like the Para Eels have put their stock in him. Like, he's the next guy up. Do you think that, and look, it's one game. Things can change. He can kill it. He's played well in first grade. We've all seen that. But I do have to question... Is that the right... Because it's not just a matter of, like, is Jacob Arthur the right guy to do the job or whatever. It's a matter of, like, who are you missing out on by giving him that slot? Is there concern there for you at all? Or
if Dill Brown or Mitch Moses went down in this trial and they needed a halfback for round 1, I would pick Assy.
Yeah, I was going to say the same
thing. Yeah, wow. Well, who would you pick?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll pick Assy as well. Yeah.
Is that a concern?
Most definitely, it's a concern.
Because like he's the guy they've backed in.
It's a concern, but I think we're all, we've seen a fair bit in Diarnasi, and I reckon he's a good footballer. I think he can do a good job, and so it's not so much. It is a concern because isn't he only signed for a year, Assy?
Yeah.
So in terms of the future and that, and who's the backup half, well, is he only going to be there for a year? I'm not sure, but
I think he's gone for a year there, and then he goes to Cowboys, doesn't he?
Isn't that?
Nah, he's signed for 2 years.
Okay.
23, 24. Yeah.
Okay, well, even more so then I'm like, I'll have to go Arcee. Yeah. And it's not because I think Arthur isn't capable. I just think Arcee's a good footballer and a better replacement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just... Again, when you compare the depth of other clubs, like we're talking about the Eels here, they were in the grand final last year, they're a top 4 side, and you compare it to, say, other teams' depth in that role, I think this is a year where Jacob Arthur has to just kill it in New South Wales Cup, because otherwise you really have to ask the question, is he the guy that's going to take over from Mitch Moses? Outside of that, Ryan Madison played quite a bit of footy. Obviously, that's of course he would, because he's not going to play those first 3 games. One of the great.
I think that right edge spot, I don't think anyone's grabbed it yet. It'll be interesting to see who they name there this week. You had Momasia, who jumped in there, who every preseason there seems to be a lot of hype around this guy. I'm not quite seeing it just yet. You got Murchie, who's another one who could take that spot as well.
Murchie was all right at the Warriors.
He's
He
good.
was.
And I mean, the one that came on late and actually had a bit of impact was Matt Dory as well, who left Canterbury a few years ago. Murchie would be my pick. But it'll be interesting to see how they go.
Do you read much into the fact it's hard because they named Sean Lane, but I suppose they wanted to get him some experience as being a skipper in this game. But the fact that Murchie wasn't
Was a
picked in
great
this
Sean
game,
Lane skipper.
He was.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What a fucking legend. I love that from Sean Lane. He's such a likable guy.
Do you read much into that Murchie wasn't named? If they do go with the stronger side for week 2 of trials, do you put we'll speculate, but ahead in the pecking order?
Even more so, he was named and then didn't play.
Yeah.
So I would say he'll start on the right edge next week.
Yeah.
Okay. But in regards to, I think they're not similar in the Tigers of where they are on the table or whatever, but they're similar in their first 17 is like quite a substantial margin away from their depth. But I will say, when you're looking at depth, Para Eels depth should be better than this, in my opinion.
Should.
In my opinion, we're talking Para Eels, Heartland of Rugby League. You know, a couple suburb, like just a little bit over. You've got the Penrith that.
And this is where you come through the junior grades. Penrith and Parramatta are always really strong. How many of these Parramatta kids are ended up in first grade compared to Penrith?
Yeah.
It's like if you go back and have a look at the SG Bulls sides, the Panthers 5 years ago, they're all in the team now.
And so that's probably Para's next big challenge. Like, they've got an incredible club. You know, I love watching the Eels, the way they play. Great captain in Gutho. Their next challenge is, how do we ensure that future by making sure our juniors' pathways are good?
And that's going to be the challenge for them now as well. That, you know, I think for years, or when I was growing up, and when I thought Western Sydney, Parramatta were the team.
Yeah,
They're not anymore.
That's a good point. Now on to the Penrith Panthers. I mean, far out. Like, seriously, take your pick on who was exciting in this side.
Joke.
Jesse McLean, an absolute beast on the edge there.
He re-signed last week for 2 years.
Oh, did he really? Fuck.
So when they let go of Stephen Crichton and all this, and you wonder why, this is fucking why. They've got that many kids to choose from to replace him with.
And put him
won't
in
be as good footballers, but
And he's on minimum
they
too.
might
He's on minimum as well.
Yep.
Whereas, like, you know, Critter has got to be paid more than 300k. Like, I know that, and that's unders. I'm just saying, like, if he were to take unders, surely he's not taking anything less than.
These three you've got there, McLean, Taruva, and Jenkins. Like, one of them's going to be the third choice guy to replace a third injury. At most clubs, I reckon all three of these would be next guy up very soon.
You look at a guy like Jenkins. Like, so Taruva ran for, out of those three people you just mentioned, Taruva ran for the least amount of metres. And we're talking about Taruva here, who he knows a gun. Like, it is just amazing.
Mate, I've been very high on Jenkins for quite a while. I was so disappointed by his game the other day. And that's not having a crack at him. That's just showing the upside that he has. I thought he got picked out defensively a couple of times. He made a couple of handling errors early. What you saw on the weekend of Jenkins, which people still messaged me and said, oh, fuck, you were right on him. He's good. That's nowhere near his best.
Yeah, wow, okay. Wow. Yeah, that's good to hear. It's good to hear.
And like, you have a look, the 9 that started, Luke Somerton, I haven't seen him play before. He was sensational to the point where the kid that came off the bench, Riley Smith, who is an absolute weapon hooker, they played him at 5'8". They didn't even play him at hooker.
Like, what about Maverick Guy's fucking flick pass?
He's got to play grade this year at some point.
Like, good sort too. What's going on with that? Mark, sorry, bro, but what happened, bro? Must be your missus, bro. Sorry. hey, this has come from me, bros. If I have kids, they'll be looking like my missus, I hope. But Maverick Guy, one of the great names, that flick pass. We saw a bit of him last year before he got injured.
Yep.
I mean, what else is there to say other than this is some of the most exciting young footy players we've ever seen? And that's not hyperbolic because they literally won every single grade other than, you know, I don't know, fucking under 16s or some shit maybe. But every grade that is close to professional, they won it. And we are getting to witness, like, this is a team that lost their 6 and 7. So Katoa, Dolphins, and 7, Peru, that's now at, Peru is now at Sharkies.
And Peru was behind Sean O'Sullivan anyway, who they've also lost. And then the 5'8" in the SG Ball that won it as well, he's now going to Melbourne. So they have lost just about every ball player they had in this club. They've gone and got Cogger from in England somewhere, and brought him back. Tell me someone's not going to sign Cogger in 18 months for huge overs.
Cogger will be fucking the next fucking Joey after it gets done at Penrith.
I can't wait for the origin period when everyone's out to that and all these blokes come up and play NRL and just see the top line. They'll come in and do a job.
It's just like even a guy like Hoskins was relatively quiet, and we know what he can do in first grade. What about Eisenhuth, the great Eisenhuth at lock, the big fella? So, what else is there to say other than Penrith Panthers are just they're in heaven right now. Yeah. What could you possibly fault about their entire setup right now? They got the cash, they got the area, they got the premierships. They got the best young seven we've seen in a very long time. Like, it's amazing, and it's such a joy to watch. It's such a joy to be able to view.
And as I said the other day, I watched the Newcastle Knights and their SG Ball and Harold Matts last week. They looked really impressive. Played Penrith on the weekend. Neither of them got a win.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Holy shit.
Jesse McLean, his younger brother, scored the first 2 tries in Harold Matts for Penrith too.
Oh my god!
It just keeps going.
Like even both their front rowers both ran for over 100 metres. So Lindsay Smith, 11 runs, 125 metres. Liam Henry, 15 runs, 137 metres. Like, bloody hell. Incredible. So yeah, look, Para Eels, I think there's a huge gap between their best 17 and their reserves. I think their biggest challenge going forward is making sure that pathway system is sorted. I don't think it's like panic stations. I don't think it changes them being a top 8 side at all. It's just a trial. But I do think it's something that needs to be considered and looked at going forward. Penrith Panthers is incredible. Now, onto the Dragons, St Helens. We probably won't go through like the St Helens side in regards to like each player or how good they were. But before we do, I want to get into, just quickly, head into N17 Burger Co. In Port Douglas. Say hi to Simon and his crew and grab some beers. Also, head into Dicey's in Gladstone. Say hi to Jane and her team and grab some beers there also. N17 Burger Co. in Port Douglas goes through so much bloke beer on tap there. They're a massive supporter, so a thank you. So if you're in Port Douglas, head into N17 Burger. And Dicey's in Gladstone. The great Gladstone is a heartland of rugby league. Head into Dicey's and say hi to Jane and her team. Thank you for supporting bloke beer. And thank them for supporting. That's how we do this. That's how we get to do this podcast, is by people like Dicey's in Gladstone and N17 Burger supporting us. Now, on to the next game. Dragons v St Helens. Oh, also, just before I forget, guys, Friday, the first month of the season, Country Live Tour, powered by Ringers Western. Make sure to grab some Ringers Western kit to support them, for supporting us, to say thank you, or head to their Instagram, their website. But the first month, every Friday, so Friday the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, the 24th, we have a live show. On the 3rd, we will be in Riverina, Wagga Wagga. So Riverina, Wagga Wagga, we are putting on a live show at 6 p.m. most likely on the 3rd of March. On the 10th of March, we'll be at St Kilda in Armidale, live show. Me, Guru, Timmy, Maddie. On the 17th of March, we'll be in Rockhampton, yet to be confirmed location, but it'll be confirmed soon. And on the 24th of March, Gilligans in Cairns will be there putting on a live show. Do not miss it, because country tours are hard to do. We probably won't be back at these places in quite a while, so make sure to get down there. Let's get to the Dragons St Helens game. I'm not going to lie, it's a bit of a tough game to get through. I don't know. I know there's points scored, and maybe it was because St Helens, and I don't support St Helens, and I don't know a lot of the players. But it was a bit of a tough game to get through. In regards to the Dragons, oh man, I thought Blake Laurie had some real big moments. The great Blake Laurie, he's snapping blokes in the middle there. Outside of that, there wasn't really that much that Trey Stewart showed a lot of potential, but he had a couple of errors under the high ball that he struggled with. But he did show a lot of potential, which I liked.
He's a Sloan clone.
He's a Sloan clone.
That try score was unreal. Then dropped 3 balls. Like, put it together and we've got a superstar.
Mate, 100%. Outside of that, though, I don't know. Look, the Dragons did trial quite poorly last year as well, so don't read too much into the result. But I have to say, I didn't get that up and about in regards to the Dragons. What do you reckon?
Yeah, respectfully to them, I did not enjoy this game. I thought it was a really tough watch. But some positive to say for the Dragons. I thought Jacob Little looked okay. He seemed to get through some decent minutes there. I thought Ben Murdoch-Masila,
I don't mind him on an edge.
He
Could
looked
it be?
injured all last year to me.
Yeah.
He didn't look like the guy that was playing over in England. He finally looked like it the other day. So I don't mind him on an edge. I don't know if they're...
Do you reckon he stays on the edge?
No, I don't think so, unfortunately.
So who do you reckon goes on the edge then?
Depends on where they play Jack Bird. But
He'll start at 6 because,
Yeah, but they reckon that Bud might be fit for round 1.
Oh, really?
Apparently, yeah.
Okay.
So,
He's confirmed that himself that he
will be
most
ready round
likely
one.
be ready round 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
so then you got to play Jack Bird somewhere. I think he'll be on the left edge. Who's the right edge? The Queensland back rower from South, Jaden Sewer.
Yep.
Yeah,
He'll be on one edge.
Bird and Sewer.
Yeah, so I don't
DeBellin
think they'll be able to keep him on the edge.
Do you reckon they'll bring him on the edge or keep him in the middle? I didn't mind him on the edge. I actually thought he was quite damaging.
I didn't mind him on the edge either, but what do you do with Bird then?
I mean, we always try the 13 and got Jack DeBellin. Jack DeBellin's front rower now. Who would be 13 for you?
I would have Jack DeBellin.
I love DeBellin at 13 just because he's such a good ball player.
Yeah.
I think he's perfect for it.
Yeah. Look, I would have Bird starting for sure, but I didn't mind Murdoch was still there. I really didn't.
Yeah, I thought he looks good. Outside of that, mate, there really wasn't. Fuck that hip drop penalty. That was brutal.
Oh my God,
How can
bro.
that possibly be a hip drop?
Who's watching this shit? Have you never, ever played a game of rugby league? How in what dimension is that a hip drop? And what concerns me is people go, it's just one bad call. But that is so bad that how do you not know? What is he supposed to do? There's a thing called physics. And if you're tackling someone that's running past you, you're going to swing around. How can you stop that aside from letting go of the player? Yeah. There's going to be injuries on footy fields. It seems so obvious. I understand the 50-50 calls and I understand calls that happen in the heat of the moment. But that was called after watching a bunch of replays. And you're I understand that they have a direction from above to crack down on it. But did anyone that's played a game of rugby league really think that was a hip drop tackle and not just a guy trying to grab someone from behind and swinging around? Did anyone?
God, no.
I don't know. It's just frustrating. Anyway, sorry.
Well, no, and I was texting you saying that, and then I looked up and there was a penalty for a hair pull as well. It was a big 5 minutes. So this game wasn't overly enjoyable for me. The Dragons, look, they're a different side with Ben Hunt. At the end of the day, you put Ben Hunt, you put Jack DeBellin back in there. They also, I think they used a grand total of 30 players and they all got minutes. A lot of local juniors in there, so credit to them on that front, but just not much to read into this game. Just the little attitude things though, like the kick pressure and all that. I've still got a lot of question marks about the Dragons in that regard, but it wasn't their full strength side, so I don't know how much you look into it. Playing against St Helens too, hard to prepare for. You don't really know.
And St Helens was a full strength side.
Yeah. So
saying that, they still did have Lomax, Sully, Feeney, Ravalawa, Moses Mbai, Jacob Little, Blake Laurie, Murdoch Masilla. That's
a
fair bit of first grades.
It's essentially your entire back line, isn't it? Minus the fullback.
The fullback that hasn't locked it in.
Yeah.
The fullback that got dropped last year. Yeah, I don't know.
It was interesting to see Lomax. He jumped on the left at one point.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
You'd have to think it was just players available. It can't be a permanent thing. The right-hand ball carry is so important to Lomax's game. That little offload he does out the back, granted he gets it wrong 80% of the time, but still a big part of his game. You'd think it'd be a temporary
I wonder
thing.
if they're moving him there because of that.
To stop him.
Honestly,
But he still did it on the weekend.
I have no doubt. But I wonder if maybe that's what they're...
But Sully was so good on that edge. Why would you... Sully was
I don't
gun.
know. It was weird.
Sully is one of Hook's best projects. I know he still played well at Manly, but the consistency he's had, Hook deserves raps for that. He's gotten the best out of Sully.
Griffin's quote was, Zach finished the year on the left last year and they both can play either side, referring to Sully as well. So he just wanted to have a look at that and see what it looked like.
Hook, as I said, Hook does have a tendency to trial very... we saw last year, they were honestly watching the trial game going, oh my God, these guys. Yeah. And they came out and they did challenge for the 8. So I don't think there's much to read into, I don't.
What, was it the trial last year where South gave it to him? Was that last year?
No, that was the year before.
That was the year before, wasn't it? Yeah, right.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, there was couple of little interesting things that caught my eye. I don't think he's going to have too much of a role this year, but Tautau Moga making the move to the middle.
Big fella.
Played in there, just a bit of a ball-playing lock. And, look, he's had such a horrid run of injuries over his career, Moga, but, you know, he's a big boy.
So fucking big, bro.
So if he can make you talk about, like, getting a bit of agility in the forward pack, if he can make that role, make the transition to the role, I should say, well, could be a very handy little one from him. I'm keen to see how that plays out this season.
That's a good shout, because he could bring that explosiveness they need through the middle.
Between him, Jack Bird, Sewer, you start going, all right, there's a little bit of agility in there. And then the other one, well, just quickly, back onto the Indigenous game, I thought Josh Kerr was really good.
Yeah.
He had some outstanding runs, some big hit-ups, and I was sort of watching that going, all right, a bit of punch for the Dragons if he can replicate that early in the season.
Well, I know Hook moved him to an edge for a bit last year.
All over the shop.
It's hard to tell if Hook loves him or hates him sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, is he getting moved to the edge because you love what he does, or is he getting moved because you don't like what he does in the middle?
And then
Hopefully he stays in the middle.
and then the other one was real small glimpse of him late in the game, but Savelio Tamale, the 18-year-old who scored the late try, rugby convert, he looks like a little weapon. For an 18-year-old, he's I like what I see. I'm looking forward to watching more of him because he just looks like a complete athlete.
For sure. So look, I this one's a weird one because St Helens were full strength. So it's like they were. You could argue they're definitely playing the most full strength side out there this weekend. But you know, is St Helens as high quality as some of our top tier sides? Some people would say yes. Like a lot of Super League fans would say St Helens would be in our top 4. I personally think they probably would be maybe more top 8-ish. So let's just assume top 8-ish side, full strength side. You know what I mean? So the Dragons, you could make the argument, look, they went all right against a top 8 NRL side that was full strength without their full strength side, without Benny Hunt, without Amone, without Sullivan, without Bird, you know? So you make that one. Now, just quickly on St Helens. Interesting. They're playing Penrith next week. Happy to say I was wrong, but I think Penrith give it to them.
I think it washes away any top 4 thoughts for this side. I feel for them. You got to remember in this game it was unlimited interchanges playing down there at Wollongong. You go out to Penrith next week. It's meant to be almost 40 degrees. It's being played at 6 p.m. The sun's still going to be up, and they go from having unlimited interchanges to 8. I'd be happy to give them a 40 start. I think Penrith are going to absolutely
40 start.
I reckon they're going to give it to them.
Holy shit. I'm keen to see Passy versus Fisher Harris because I thought Ignatius Passy was really good. But yeah, look, unless Penrith come out and make a bunch of errors and their completion rate's 60%, I do think they win a quite strong win. I wouldn't go as far to say 40 start, but a strong win.
No, the way that Penrith have been talking, how seriously they're taking this, I think it's the one thing that they haven't won. I reckon they are going to be out and ready to go.
Oh, look, fuck. Penrith wouldn't surprise me they're that good. What do you reckon, Timmy?
I think Penrith will belt them. Tommy Makinson, off the back of a big World Cup, he was excellent for St Helens again.
He's such a good player.
I'd love to see him down here having a crack in the NRL, especially there's been... Dom Young's was okay last season, but we haven't seen many outside backs transition from the Super League to the NRL. But Makinson is so good.
He'd do it.
Yeah, I reckon he would too.
I think he'd do it. He's so consistent. And he's a good ball runner, a good finisher, goal kicker as well. Yeah. I'd love to see him in the NRL. But anyway, we've got a long show, guys. So we're sorry for our English fans. We can't really speak about that much more. Thought their fullback Wellesby had some good moments. Great ball runner. Runs a bit like Tedesco to a degree, 200 metres. But fans, you already know. Super League fans, you already know Wellesby's a gun. Johnny Lomax had some okay moments.
Curtis Sirenin had some good touches, I thought. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yep. Who else? I'm trying to look.
It's good to see Conrad Harrell again.
Yeah, his first run. Fuck, he oosed Moses Umbai. Jesus, the big fella. But yeah, I thought Passy was fantastic for St Helens. Really fucking good. Really good. Now, on to the next game. Just wait a sec. Don't forget, guys, in Queensland, spend $30 in Liquor Legends and get a Bloke 6-pack of Midi for $10. So go in there, grab the miso, some wine, and you get a $10 six-pack of Bloke Midi. If you're not around a Liquor Legends or whatever, head to our store locator. We're in hundreds and hundreds of stores across Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, ACT. Grab a case of Bloke. It is the beer of footy, and footy is back. So make sure to grab a case of Bloke in a Bar for the weekend. We've also got, is it Cameron Park? I'll just get it back up again. Celebrations Cameron Park and Dam Hotel Wyong Bottle Shop. If you buy a six-pack or a case of Bloke, you have a chance to win a Bloke soccer jersey or a Bloke party shirt. And we're not talking hundreds of people because it's just store-specific, so it might be 20 people. So you got a 1 in 20 chance of winning a soccer jersey or a Bloke party shirt. But let's get on to the Storm versus the Roosters. Going into this game with the Storm, I was really interested to see the size of their forward pack. I wanted to see, had they taken care of the fact that they just lost a bit maybe last year. And I thought Storm had a real good accounting of themselves, and it's given me much more confidence heading into this season for them in regards to their forward pack. I like Josh King in the front row better than 13. I liked, where is he? What was his name? Jordan Grant. I thought he had a fantastic game.
Yep.
Their fullback was outstanding. Sualuva Falongo. Is it Farlogo or Falongo? Because there's a G and there's usually an N before the G.
Know.
Anyway, let us know in the comments section. So I thought both teams, Roosters and Storm, showed why they're the tippity top, the cream of the crop. Some of their guys coming through are exciting as anything. And yeah, Storm. We'll speak to Storm first. I thought Katoa was a little bit quiet. I'm not sure how much he actually ended up playing, but I thought that Jordan Grant, Bronson Garlick was good out of 9. Fuck, they've got a.
He's not even really a 9 either. He's more of a back rower. He sort of played both. Obviously, the son of Sean Garlick. He's been at Canterbury, played hooker.
Shout out Garlic Pies.
Well, mate, about 3 years ago, I got an email from them for like a sponsorship thing, and it was from him. So he was working in the office there.
Hey, Garlic Pies, you want to sponsor Bloke in a Bar? Let me know. Seriously,
out.
reach out. I fucking love those pies, bro.
Garlo's?
Is it? Oh, Garlo's pies. Fuck, there it is. I keep saying Garlic because I know they're one of the sons. I actually met them at a beer festival years ago.
Was it not Bronson that you met?
No, it was
The other one's been on Love Island.
Yes,
and
yes,
shit,
yeah. He's a legend.
Jackson.
He's a legend. He's a fucking legend.
So
legend.
is Bronson. He's a champion fella
Yeah.
too. They're all good guys.
So Garlo pies, if you do come on board, I won't call them garlic pies.
Please get them on board.
But please, Garlo pies, get on board, bro. Give us some pies. Fucking hell. So reach out, baby.
That try set up for Tyron Wishart. Was it Wishart where he scooted out?
Do you reckon he yelled, "That's a Garlo meat pie"? Thanks for coming. Every try he sets up, if he doesn't call out, that's another Garlo meat pie for you, mate.
Make that. That could be the best marketing of all time if that can stick.
Every try assist, instead of saying try assist, it says Garlo meat pie. Oh, fuck. Anyways, reach out, Garlo. Could be a marketing manager. Sorry, mate.
The other one that stood out for me, mate, was Joe Chan. I thought he was really good on the left edge. I don't think we know what the makeup of this Storm back row is going to look like, but on the pecking order based on the weekend, I'd have Joe Chan in front of Katoa, just based off that one game.
Yeah.
They also, Chris Lewis, there are so many options to play edge for the Storm. Chris Lewis, who has spent a lot more time on the edge than in the middle, he was named on the edge and played at lock. So put him out of the running.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. I really like Josh King in the front row.
Yeah, he was good.
Front row rotation. So you'd start with, you'd either have Nelson on the bench, but let's say you started with Nelson and Kamakamitha, and you brought Josh King on as rotation.
Welch.
And so you go Welch, Kamakamitha to start, Nelson and Josh King rotation. That's a fair, that goes from like a front row where you're like, oh, I'm not sure, to that's a top tier front row rotation.
Especially having lost Cheese as well.
Yep.
They need someone a bit more nimble at lock than King.
Yeah, I agree. So I was actually, coming into this year, as I said, with the Storm, I was like, I'm just a bit worried about their depth, but I think that they've proven in this trial that their depth, is it as good as ever? Maybe not, but they're definitely on that path to getting back to that high, top quality depth.
It's manageable.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I thought it was good to see Christian Welch back. I think the indicator of Christian Welch when he's going good, he's offloading. Got 2 good ones away there. Did you hear his interview? I think it was either halftime or full time. He came up and they said, "How was it?" And he just said, "Mate, these kids just keep getting bigger."
Yeah.
He's like, I cannot believe
so
the
fucking
size
big
of
now.
some of them. It's crazy.
This game in particular, though, like
mate.
the Roosters forward depth, holy shit, there were some big boys.
Mate, that Roosters, like, they must have a policy there of, like, just big explosive. Like, when you look at Hargreaves, you look at Matt Lodge, like, they're big forwards. So, yeah, I thought Storm accounted themselves really well. And I thought the younger players as well, like, it was a very Storm-like performance where the longer the game went, they kind of, like, ground their way back into it and were starting to find areas of the game that they could win. But let's talk about the fullback, Suala Luvi Falongo.
Yeah, very talented guy.
Let's go.
He's an interesting one. He's actually come through the Melbourne system, so he's not a kid that they've found in Queensland and brought him down or whatever. He's played for the Thunderbolts coming through in SG Ball and all that, which traditionally are pretty average sides, but he has always been a standout, an absolute standout. So he's also he went off with an injury in the game yesterday, and a few people messaged me and said, "Oh, good player, but he's soft." He's not like that.
Oh, my God.
He's not like that at all. So
Soft.
if you want to run with that argument, sure.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you're in the top. You're in the Storm love you, and you're in their top squad and you're soft.
Yeah.
Give me a fucking break, bro.
He's top 30, is he, at the moment? Top 25?
I think so. If he's not, I reckon
he's training
will be
full
in the
time.
next
He's
few
about to
weeks.
be, yeah.
I reckon there's a chance he could start round one. I really do.
If Pappy's not good to go.
Yeah,
Really?
assuming Pap's not going to. Well, I reckon he's a chance to.
Well, who else would you put there?
Meanie.
I'd consider this guy before.
Yeah,
me.
I don't think Meany's the answer at all.
The only thing would be, do they have a goal kicker if Meanie's not there? Or he'd just play on the wing?
Yeah, you
play
still have
in the wing
Meany
and
in the
kick goals.
side.
Yeah,
Kick
okay.
goals. Yeah.
Get the Mad Dog Munster kicking goals. You think he can't fucking ping him from anywhere? Fucking Mad Dog, he can do anything.
Geez, that will put bums on seats. The Mad Dog
mate.
kicking again.
It's like when I watch Jordan Rapana. He's another one that's fast becoming one of my favourite players. I just love watching the bloke because he just fucking rips and tears constantly.
Rapana goal kick and watch, he's back.
It's so
He's
good.
back.
And him trying to jam Jack Whiten, it's so good. You're like, that's mad. That's what you want to see. Anyway, back to the... Joe Chan, I agree with you. I thought he was good. But Jordan Grant, for me, he was the one that really stood out for, as in, like, big body, got through a bunch of work. And look at he got 123 metres. So he ran for the most metres of any player on the field outside of the fullback. By a substantial margin, actually. So 123, and this is against a massive Roosters fullback. Fuck, they're big. Matter of fact, he ran for more than the Roosters front rowers ran for, and only the Roosters 13, Ben Thomas, ran for more metres than him. So I really like Jordan Grant. I think that he might be someone to keep an eye on in regards to, he may not be like Nelson Asafa Solomona kind of impact, but I think he might have a bit of a decent year. Anyone else that stood out for you boys?
Sorry, I was just doing a bit of research on that fullback. There is a quote from the recruitment manager saying he will join the full-time squad for 2023. But he's not in there at the moment, so we'll see.
But he's been training full-time, though.
Been training, yeah.
When I say top 30, I just mean training full-time.
Yeah.
But I think he what's the rule? He's got to be in that top 30 if he's going to play before round 11, I think the rule is.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting watch over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I wonder. Well, I mean, we can pretty much guarantee Pappy's not going to be ready for round one, can't we?
Surely not.
Fuck, I think so. The eye
Because
test isn't good.
he's got 3 weeks. Is he running yet? I
haven't even seen him run.
I haven't seen him run yet.
No.
Fuck. I mean, please, footy gods, please don't do this to us. Pappy's the fucking man. Get him back out there.
What do you read into Jack Howarth not playing this game?
I was surprised. I was like, fuck, they must... I know they have big raps on him. I think it essentially guarantees him a starting spot. I think that by him not starting says that he's already locked in to start.
It'd be interesting because they didn't pick... Like Tarek Sims didn't play. I didn't expect him to play. But I thought Eisenhuth would have probably played in this one. He didn't. Howarth didn't. So it'll be interesting to see...
I'll be
the
shocked
makeup ends
if Howarth isn't in that one. That's 17 round one.
17, yeah.
Because he just signed a massive deal, reportedly $500K a year. Hasn't played first grade. But I was definitely shocked that he didn't play in this game because we were like, Christian Welsh is playing.
But on top of that, Trent Leura didn't play. Tom Eisenhuth didn't play. Tepai Moroa didn't play. Alec McDonald didn't play. So I wonder... It's interesting.
It was Welch's first game back too.
Yeah,
so they probably wanted some minutes under
As soon as
his
I said
belt.
it, I was like, fuck, he's ACL, of course. That's why he's playing.
I wonder.
I reckon Holworth. I reckon he's
I reckon he will be there
17.
too, yeah.
With Olam now gone, is there any chance he plays centre? They're so hush-hush on Howarth and like over the last 12 months. So
No, I reckon they'd chuck Meany in there if they had to. I personally, I just don't see him as an NRL centre. I see him as a back rower.
Yeah.
But the Storm signed him as a centre, and they know way more about footy than me. So maybe they do put him in the centre. And he did trial, I think, last year in the centres for a little bit.
I think they've got Murray on Seve. They'll have Xavier Coates out there. Will Warbrick can cover out there. Dino Rema can play centre as well. So I think they'll go for one of those guys at centre.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see, though. Olam out. Fuck, he's a big out.
yeah,
We saw last year with Remus Smith. Oh, they got Remus Smith as well.
Yeah.
We saw last year with like Remus Smith, not playing a lot of footy, and also Jennings was injured as well. Like how much they missed the high quality defence that Remus Smith and Jennings offered them. And it's going to be the same with Olam. Like Olam's defence has just gotten so good over the years that I think they're really going to miss him on the edge there for the first few weeks.
and then even on top of that, you look at their back three isn't very big. I mean, Coates has some size, but not probably a renowned meter eater. Whether it's Nick Meaney, Pappenhausen down the line, whoever it is, if it is the young fella Filongo. So the go forward Olam brings out of their own end, it's so vital to them.
That aggression too.
Yeah.
So all in all with the Storm, I was impressed. I was really impressed. I'm more impressed with them this year than I was last year. Last year they played the Warriors and I was a bit like, ooh. I think it was the Warriors. Anyway, on to the Roosters. Equally impressed. Like some of their young fellas fucking were outstanding. I thought Jake Turpin is a really interesting one, playing at 7. That was really interesting.
He was good.
I thought Wong was, you've been tipping him on all off-season. I think he really showed like what he's about.
And I think to Melbourne's credit, I thought they marked him really well too.
They did. There were numbers around him. They shut him down straight away.
And he still was solid, in my opinion. Egan Butcher. I think we might be on the verge of his best year. He was looking confident. He was looking strong, bigger. You could... In these trials, if NRL players play, you want to see the difference. Like, they may not have the stats of like, they scored 4 tries and rah-rah, but every time they run the ball, if they're an NRL player in trials like this, you want to be able to go, that's an NRL player. That's not a fringy. And Egan Butcher was exactly that when he came out. Anyone else impressed with you boys?
There was a couple of outside backs for the Roosters that I thought were fucking impressive. There was Katoa. He was in jersey 28. He was unreal, and I think it was jersey 20.
What about Polga?
Yeah, mate.
He was at the Tigers.
Yeah.
Polga.
Holy.
Yeah.
190 metres at centre. No line breaks too. So he got that purely through fucking tough work.
There was the back rower that was on the left side. He scored a try.
Elzakam.
Yeah. He got Parramatta's New South Wales Cup best forward last year. Then he went to the World Cup with Lebanon, did pretty well there. I had no idea he was even at the Roosters. I can't believe Parramatta let him go.
Especially if we don't know who's going to be on the edge for Parra this year.
Yeah.
Beast. That try he scored.
Stop it.
He was impressive.
6 tackle breaks, a line break.
Some of the size of these boys off the bench for the Roosters. You mentioned about what Christian Welch said. Like, I think this team is an exception. There are so many big boys. And not just big and round, big and just like Taumalolo, just sculpted from stone.
Mate. And like even their outside backs. Like their outside backs were so fucking big that Jackson Paulo didn't look that big.
No.
Jackson Paulo's big. He's like 6'2", 95 kilos. They're just... The athletes these guys are recruiting is wild.
The other one I thought was really good. He played Roosters SG Ball last year and was a star. The hooker, number 24, Tyler Moriarty. He got injured, so he went off a little bit earlier than what I would have liked, but he's a very talented guy. When you go through the Roosters system, from first grade down to Harold Matthews, they've got a hooker that's top 5 in the comp. It's the amount of hookers they've got. I think in 10 years' time, you'll be able to look back at their grades and see I reckon 2 or 3 of those hookers will make it to first grade somewhere.
What's
They're
interesting,
very
because you look at the
talented.
Storm and their dominance,
Yep.
and look at the hookers that they've brought through. Like 3 of the best. Dally M hooker, which is insane when you really think about it.
Especially when you consider, like, Victor Radley came into the comp as a hooker. He's now one of the best 13s.
Another guy, that every time I see him play, I love watching him play, Terrell May.
Yep.
He was good.
He's good, man, and he's super aggressive. He loves the contact. He's got a good offload in him. Gets through a bunch of work. As soon as he gets on, he was good in the back end of last year, I'm pretty sure, for the Roosters. He had some good moments.
Yep.
But like this game, 120 metres, so 14 runs, so nearly averaging 10, like it's 8 metres a run, around that. 2 tackle breaks, an offload, 17 tackles, 0 misses, 0 errors. Fucking good, man.
Two, I thought was impressive. Matt Lodge.
Yeah, he's a fucking
He got
beast.
through a lot of work. I think he had a line break that he set up at one point. When you have a look through, if you can average under 3 seconds for your play the balls in a game, you've done really well. His was at about 2.6. That's quick.
With all the drama that surrounded him because of the stuff that he did, and he served his time or whatever, I think people forget him coming through the grades. He was the next big thing in the front row. Like, he was the guy, and clubs were. I mean, that's why clubs were willing to put up with a lot of the off-field stuff, because he was so fucking good. So I think people don't realise. They don't appreciate how good he is at footy. And
he's also got that, you have a look at his stats from this game. He only made 10 tackles. He made 10 tackles because no one wanted to go fucking near him.
No.
They were avoiding him like the plague.
Yep. And he's what, 26, 27 now? Could you check his age, please? Actually, I'll check real quick if it has it here.
I think he's a bit older.
Yeah, I think he's a bit older.
Yeah, I think he's a couple years more
95, so he'd be at 27.
So he's 27.
27.
Wow. Nice, Kempy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're back.
I'm back, boys. I'm back. I learned from me mistakes. I was actually going to say 21, and I just, I just rounded up here. Look, I mean, Roosters, is so exciting, so exciting. Sam Walker had some good moments, looked confident. Anyone else, boys, that stood out for you? I thought Sandon Smith, Brandon Smith's evil twin, he had some okay moments.
He was handy. I thought when Cheese came on the field, early minutes I was worried. There was a couple of passes that were a little bit how you going. Then I think he missed the count on a tackle count on last tackle, put Sam Walker in some pressure. But then that pass that he threw to Victor Radley, I didn't think he had that in him. Even the way, like I was saying to Tim before, the way that he looked left and the whole line just shifted.
Yeah.
He confused the entire line and then came up with that perfect ball. I love when they were defending too, and they weren't on the field for long, Cheese and Radley, but they were going together in everything they did.
Oh, just like Harry Grant and Cheese used to do.
And that's what, you were seeing guys trying to avoid Matt Lodge. They'd look up and you'd have Radley and Cheesy going, fuck, give me Lodge, please.
Oh, man. When Lodge is your best option, something's wrong. Brandon Smith, again, he's a larrikin, and we absolutely love the fact he's a larrikin. We need to remember, he is a Dally M hooker. This is not just some fucking guy that's rips and tears and shots people. He's a Dally M hooker.
Well, what about when they spoke to him, they were interviewing off, and they said, what are your thoughts on the pre-season challenge? And as soon as I said, I was like, this is a dumb idea. And he's like, what did he say? He goes, I don't really care. I don't think it really matters that much.
And the NRL,
Why would they do that?
They're like, bro, we need you to promote it as much as possible because we want people to get excited. And that's not even hard. So he also said, I mean, this is all from bloody one interview. He goes...
What do you mean the NRL just sit there going, fuck, could you have asked anyone else?
He goes, it was weird hearing all the names from the Storm. They were calling out for all the players. I knew exactly what they were doing, which started confusing me. I started to forget what the Roosters plays were. How good is that? That's fucking so good, bro. So good. So honest, man. I started to forget. Look, outside of that, Roosters are looking fucking red hot. I will say, if I had to be super, super critical, I'm still yet to see this specific game plan for the cattle that they have. I didn't watch the game and go, they're really just through the middle, explosive. They were almost playing quite, typical rugby league, 3 or 4 hit-ups and spread it. So it is going to be interesting to see how they do fit in so many superstars. Suoli'i, Manu, Cheese, Teddy, You know what I mean? Unless you guys saw something differently.
No, but I just think that it's hard to replicate the game you're going to play with a Manu, with a Teddy, without having them on the park. So
sure.
I think
this
game will be this one this weekend. Where do you both see Jake Turpin fitting? Is he going to be the 14? Do we think?
I think it'll be 14 with Connor gone. Sure.
Yeah.
And he comes on and plays 9. How
9.
much?
Cheese goes to lock.
Yep. Bradley has a bit of a rest.
Yeah.
Watson's not looking great, just quite. He's still in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I think he'll be all right, though. Apparently the surgery went really well. So he'll actually be back this year, which is awesome. Okay, now to the mighty Raiders versus the Doggies. We'll speak out the Doggies first. Read money.
Wow.
Holy shit. Yeah. Like, everyone knows we give this kid raps fucking constantly. Even I didn't take into account that he was playing with such a dominant 7 that maybe that was not holding him back at all, but the game plan was stopping him from taking control of certain situations. On the weekend, and look, it's just one trial, but fuck, it was like a new man. You're going, holy shit. Like, and which is, it's stupid for us to say because we thought I thought he should have played Origin a couple of years back. Like, so it's not me underestimating how good he is, but I thought there were parts of Reid Marnie's game that we hadn't really seen before on the weekend.
There was moments last year where Jeremy Marshall-King was going so good. I was going, have they made the right choice spending so much more money on getting Reid Marnie? But
yeah. To be clear, so Reid Marnie's definitely the better player, but just the money.
But the value you were getting out of Marshall-King for what you would have been paying him compared to what you would have paid to get Reid Marnie.
Just want to save you in the comments because comments go flying.
Fuck, I need some help in those comments. God. But Reid Marnie, you got 15 minutes into this game and you went, okay.
Yeah, I get it.
I get it now.
There's levels.
You're club captain and you're doing this shit. I get it.
Far out.
Well, I just said, Campy, it's like when we talk about Hodjo going to the Eels and how, because the halves are so dominant, the number 9 at Parramatta is just dish, give early ball. Easy when it's particularly Reid Marnie because you've got probably the best service from dummy half in the competition. But now the Doggies where you go, oh, he'll have Birdo there who's a dominant half, but Flano with him, Perham out the back. He can make this team his own, can't he? And like, what have we not seen because of the players around him at Para? If he takes control of this and becomes the playmaker that what we saw on the weekend he can be, how much more does he have to his game that we don't know about?
That's what I mean. Like, how much have we underestimated this bloke? And look, it's just one game, understandable. But for example, I feel like a lot of the time when we were giving Marnie raps in the comments section, people were never negative about Marnie, but it would always be like, yeah, it doesn't really have creativity around the ruck, doesn't really run that much. That was the stopped him from being almost the perfect hooker. And then you watch on the weekend, you're like, creativity around the ruck, like, fuck, he clearly has it. Yeah. He clearly has it. So it is going to be interesting to see. Are we going to see like a new version of Reid? Like not just the fucking great service and incredible defence. Are we going to see a creative 9 that's really tearing teams apart up the middle? Another guy I want to shout out, and I'm going to shout him out quickly before anyone shouts him out. Franklin Pele. Holy fuck. We might be on here, boys, with Pele. We were saying like he could be the difference in regards to what they need in the forward pack to have that next step. Wow.
Yeah, I was very impressed. And all the stuff that I'd heard was that he wasn't going that well.
Really?
Canterbury, yeah, which is interesting. He looked great to me.
It's amazing.
9 runs, 120 metres.
A try assist.
And that's the beauty of him. You only need him for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You just want to go nuts.
He doesn't need to be a big minute forward, particularly like if he does get picked round 1, it'll be off the bench. Like a 30-minute roll, sweet, go ham.
Yep. 10 minutes each half, just go fucking skits. And he could break games open for you. I thought he had like that one error at the end where you're like, ooh, okay. But then what he did was, which is great, so has a one error at the end, the 6 gets lippy for Raiders, which is typical fucking Canberra, honestly. Typical.
Raiders confident today. I need to start firing back a bit.
Look, I don't appreciate what you said about Reece Walsh. That's all I'm going to say. No. So Raiders...
a bit of ticker.
Raiders 6 gets lippy. Anyway, last play of the game, guess who shoots out of line and fucking jams the Raiders 6? Frank Pele. And you're going, oh, shit. And that's what you want to see. Like, if he makes an error, you want him to be angry. You want him to take it out on someone. Like, that's his job. He's an aggressive, he's a dominant forward. Anyway, what do you think about the Doggies?
They looked like a team that had been together for years to me. I thought they looked really good. Mate, I was so happy to see Josh Reynolds out doing his thing. I absolutely loved that. There was a moment there where he tackled the fullback, Xavier Savage, before he went off. And, he needs Savage in the head. His head was bleeding and everything, and Savage stayed down for a second, and Reynolds just got stuck into it. I just fucking love that. Absolutely love it. I remember I had Branko Lee on the podcast, and he told a story when he made his first grade debut. He dropped a bomb that came to him, and the ball hit the ground, and he picked it up and was like, fuck, and went to give it over to Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds hit the ball out of his hand and just started ripping it into him, and he's like, fuck, it rattled the shit out of me. And he's like, I was filthy on him for years, and he said, when I got to Canterbury, I was so nervous about seeing him, and he was the first guy to come and hug me and put my arm around me.
He's a legend.
Yeah, he just took him in straight away. And I just loved it. Did you see the footage of before the game? Canterbury was all in a circle. There was one voice.
Yeah.
It was Josh Reynolds.
It's a great grub.
It's exactly
Great
how
grub.
it should be.
Who impressed you, Timmy?
Jacob Preston, with all the hype he had
Wow.
in the pre-season, we've heard the last sort of month or so coming out of Belmore, he was excellent. So
Good,
the
man.
Dogs are just building up. I mean, need to take a back seat in that the Raiders side that was named, give or take a couple of the forwards, middle forwards, it'll be a pretty unrecognisable team come round one and even next week.
And Raiders are a very forward-heavy team.
They are, big time. However, and the Doggies sent out a very strong side, but you can only beat what's put in front of you. Their cohesion was great. As Guru said, they looked like they'd been playing together for years. But Preston, on the edge there, he was outstanding. And if, as suspected, Fatala Mariner does spend a bit of time in the middle this year and it opens up a bit of an edge role for Preston or Davey, we could see a decent chunk of him.
Shout out to Preston. He listens to the podcast.
Oh, Presto. Shout out, bro.
He said, I love yours and Kempy's podcast, so that's unlucky for you. But after the one that pointed him out.
I was especially because I was the one who gave him the raps. You two pretenders jumped on board and then you get the love.
He actually said before the game, we're going to towel up the Raiders just to give it to Timmy.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
He knows my name, so that's right.
He was impressive.
Shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs. Just kicked the field goal to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, so Paddy Mahomes.
Yeah.
Mate, that Paddy Mahomes, mate, he's incredible. I've never watched. He's incredible. Next Tom Brady. I don't fucking know.
Good, isn't he?
Mate, he's fucking great, mate. Great eye, great arm.
Can throw a pigskin and stuff.
Can throw a pigskin, mate. Just great eye.
Could be anything.
Could be absolutely anything, that Paddy Mahomes. Okay, so they won by a conversion.
38 to 35.
Holy shit. And was it the dying seconds they just did it?
Yeah, 8 seconds to go.
Holy shit.
Huge.
What a Super Bowl. Also, I can't wait to watch Rihanna's halftime show. That'd be fucking hectic. I'm serious. I fucking love the halftime shows. It's like a part of the cult, a part of the mystique. Anyway, shout out Jacob Preston. What a game. Thanks for fucking rubbing it into Timmy. I actually think he did a sign, he did a tee after one of his big runs. His try.
Preston's
and what he was saying, just fucking dominated your team, bro.
He could be super coach round one, bottom dollar starting edge back rower, and I just, mate, you're not coming near my team anymore. You're dead to me, Jacob Preston.
Look, the funny thing is that, okay, yes, the Doggies did roll out a much stronger team than the Tigers. But, they're probably two clubs that are about the same situation right now. They've both recruited really well. So I feel like it's a bit unfair. It probably is unfair on the Tigers, but I do think that, the Doggies have made a smarter decision here by rolling out a bit of a stronger team because they're in the same position. They need to play as much footy as they can together. And so I wonder whether did Tigers miss an opportunity to roll out a stronger team and build combinations?
Great call.
Because they've only got one game now.
Yeah.
It just seems like a masterstroke for the Dogs. Not a masterstroke, almost common sense, but you just said it, Kempy, but getting these guys game time together.
Massively.
Why not play in both trials? I get it's a long season. You don't get blokes to get injured, but you don't need to play for 40 minutes. You don't need to,
20 minutes.
20 minutes, just a bit of time.
Yeah, just together, that feel of the pace of the game.
Good call.
For example, think of how different Kyle Flanagan feels today than he did on Friday. Playing with Reid Marnie. He looked good. It's some of the best Kyle looked. He looked confident. And I feel like that's only going to grow. And they're basically in the same position. They've got a new number 9, Napi Coruscant. It just would have been important to get Appy out there to just give them the pace of the game. And I know, look, Appy's had a really long year, but just 20 minutes, even okay, not even on the field. Okay, let's say you played him for 10 minutes, even just in the dressing rooms before they go out, to have Appy there saying, "Do this, I need you to do this, I fucking need to do this." Again, I'm being harsh on the Tigers. Maybe I was wrong to say that, but I do think they may have missed a little bit of a trick in not playing some of their better players. I just think that they're not like Penrith, Storm and Roosters that can afford... Like, even the Roosters played Lodge. They played Brandon Smith. Like, we're talking about the Roosters, the top tier.
And granted, they waited until the start of the second half to put them on for 20 minutes.
20 minutes, brought them on.
It matters.
Whereas, like, I don't think Tigers are in the position to be like, it's a long year. It's like, look, if you guys gas out at the end of the year, then fair enough. But if you start the year poorly, it's just going to be a shit year the whole year for you. Like, if we're at the end of this year and Tigers fans go, we played incredibly for 20 rounds, but then we just gassed out, I think Tigers fans would be stoked with that. Whereas if you go into this new year with combinations not well, you'd be filthy. You'd be like, why weren't they playing a trial together? Anyway, sorry Tigers fans, but it was just a good comparison, because the Bulldogs now, as a team, they've got to get a lot of confidence from that. Again, they weren't playing a full-strength Raiders side. Yes, their side was probably a little bit stronger than the Raiders, but I tell you what, they're going to be much more confident playing together.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone else? Alamotti, what a difference a year makes.
Oh, mate. Fuck.
He had a Barry Crocker last year.
Yeah,
I was going,
he was all over
heckers.
the place last year. Yeah. And, he didn't do anything big. He scored a try, but it was, a pretty stock standard try. Didn't have to do too much. But it's just his physicality. He looked completely different to what he looked 12 months ago. So I think you can lock in those centres for round one.
So
I thought Averillo was good too.
I thought he was all right. And I looked at his body shape and I'm like, is he big enough for a centre, like today's centre? But he seemed to handle himself. Seemed okay.
Yeah.
And, like Jared Croker, he, I know he's a bit older now, but he had a whole career where he wasn't the biggest centre. And some think he's one of the most unlucky fucking outside backs ever to not play Origin at least once. People forget how good Croker was, and he's not the biggest bloke in the world.
Averillo's just got a bit of X factor to him. He just makes things work. So I'm happy to see him at centre.
Well, even I'd go as far to say as like, okay, if they can't find that ball playing lock straight away, the amount of times you can pull Averillo in to be that 13 in set plays, like so, let's say you get a penalty, you kick the ball out, and you call it a Jakey set or whatever. You move, everyone just moves out one. And so the centre gets replaced by the edge forward, and Averillo moves into that 13 role. And for the whole set, he's the one connecting everyone. Maybe that's an option. And he can do that on the field because his ball playing is good.
Yep, for sure.
Whereas if you have a normal centre that isn't as good ball playing as Jakey is because he come through as a 6, he probably couldn't do that.
And it's just always good to have another guy that can cover every position in your back line.
Yeah, it's true. Very true. Anyone else stood out for you? Corey Waddell, I thought he got through his work really well. Anyone else, boys?
I thought Maxi King was good, as always.
Hasn't he just I swear there was a period, and I know we spoke about it, for a bit, where he went from the Titans to the Storm, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe this bloke's just going to peter out a little bit. But I think that going to the Bulldogs is the best thing he could have ever done for himself because he's part of their senior playing group now.
I really liked him when he was at the Titans. He used to get through a heap of work. He went down to Melbourne. I thought, okay, he's going to explode down there. He didn't, and I thought, okay, it's done. But then for him to go to Canberra, for him to be a captain of that club when Luke Thompson's his other front row forward within 12 months, that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he wouldn't be a lock-in starter every week. If you had him out of your 17, I don't think too many people would be blowing up, even though I would have him in my 17.
Yeah.
So fair play to him. Yeah, awesome stuff. Now on to the Raiders. The biggest news coming out of it, Savage, out for 6 weeks or 6 months?
Back in round 7.
Back in round 7. The last thing they needed, you could tell as soon as he got hit when he was getting up that he was devastated. He knew his jaw was broken. Outside of that, look, what I did like about the Raiders, and this is a really good example, so they obviously lost, and they lost quite substantially, but the difference between their loss and a lot of other teams' losses is I still saw the Raiders' DNA in these reserve graders. Some of those mullets flying around, fucking super aggressive, some of those four, you got Mooney, super aggressive. Was it Clay Webb with the mad? Anyway, there was a bunch of boys, and like there were moments in the game where you're like, that's Raiders DNA. And if you see that, you go, the club's in a good space. Like even if the result, you go, at least the DNA is filtering throughout the whole team. Like they played like a Raiders side, whereas some of the other teams, you're like, they didn't play like any side. They just didn't look like they played together. So although they lost, I don't think it's worrying signs at all from them. I thought Schneider had some good moments. I really don't think it's... I think the biggest loss for them right now is the fact that they've lost Savage, and I don't know who replaces him at fullback. I'll speak to you, Timmy, first. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, look, the answer is that there isn't a cut and dry answer. The obvious one is probably to go Jordan Rapana to fullback and Harley Smith-Shields back in. You know, he's obviously come back from a lengthy injury layoff, but straight back in on the wing.
Are you surprised he didn't play on the weekend? Or is he just not ready?
He did that injury very early on last season, so I don't know if he... Like, it was about this time. Might have been round one, or was it pre-season? Might have been pre-season.
He should be ready,
I would have thought he would have been ready. But, you know, maybe he's been killing down there in pre-season and they wanted him starting in next week's trial. I'm not sure. Maybe they wanted to give Jordy Rapana the week off next week because he did play in the All-Stars.
It says on Casualty Ward that he's back round one of the NRL season.
I thought he would have been fine, Harley. Okay. So, the fullback issue, like, do you want to be going into round one with Jordan Rapana as your fullback? Not at all. And the even bigger concern is that Xavier Savage is so raw, and there are so many elements to his game that can be exposed by particularly clever opposition halves. He needs every game he can get under his belt. So now not only is he missing the second trial, but missing the early stage of the season. So, cool, he comes back in round 7 odd, and if he comes back straight in at fullback, they were such key games for him early on in the season. So, mate, I do a bit of digging now that, you know, they're going to have to look for another fullback. But if there's another young bloke coming through the club, there was no one that sort of has stood out to me that I'm aware of.
Could Schneider play fullback? I know it's a bit of a stretch. No. Okay. Because he's a bit bigger.
He's got the size.
Yeah, just not the pace, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think he's got the pace. I don't think he's got the creativity.
Okay.
He was good in the halves. He had some really good moments on the weekend.
Hopewadi maybe at fullback?
Possibly Hopewadi.
Can we ask the question?
Yeah, we're going to have to ask the question, mate.
Jackie Whiten. I love it. I love it.
I love it. That's fucking mad. And then you bring Schneider in at 6 or Frawley.
Probably. Schneider was the pick of the halves in this trial, but Frawley did a really good job there last season. So I'd say Frawley in there with Jamal Fogarty. But
is Jackie too big now?
No,
to get through the case?
He'd be fine. He's still super agile. I think he wouldn't have a drama.
More just the Ks wise though. Like You know, the extra 3 Ks you run at fullback.
But I'm concerned if Jordy Rapana goes to fullback, where our points come from. Xavier Savage was, while he had his areas in probably defence and positioning that were issues, he was an X factor. And because we don't probably have a lot of star power out wide, you know, we're such a forward heavy team, so we were relying on things like Savage's support play, his speed through the ruck. I don't know if we get. I love Jordy Rapana, but I think he's an out and out winger. So Jacko, to add that ball playing dimension as a fullback, I like it.
Oh, I like it too.
Matty Frawley has shown that he can get a team around the park.
Well, he's won games without Jackie White.
Exactly.
And you had Sam Williams and Frawley in that halves. So I like it.
Yeah,
imagine Jackie White.
I don't like that you lose Jack's defensive presence in the front line because he's unbelievable, but I think the fact that
you've got enough mongrels to sort that.
Yeah, and we're clearly short on fullbacks at the club, which is not great roster management, to be fair. I think it's got to be an option for Ricky Stewart.
If anything, your roster management is way too centre wing heavy.
Very much so. We've got a stack.
Because you've got, like, for example, look at this back line. Schiller, he came in and played really well last year. Croker, Hopewadi, Elijah Anderson. All those boys could play first grade.
Yeah.
But you don't even have Tomoko's there. You've got Rapana that will be there. You know what I mean? Like
Seb Chris,
Harley Smith-Shields. Whereas you don't actually have many. You're right, fullbacks.
In their defence, I said this a few weeks ago. You went and signed the Sharks fullback from SG Ball last year, Chevy Stewart. I'm confident we'll be sitting here this episode next year after trials talking about him as a gun. So
you mentioned him last week.
He's a very talented kid. He's not ready right now, so it doesn't solve our problem now. But it's not like they're sitting there with their hands under their ass not doing anything. They have got a fullback there who's just probably a year away still, I reckon.
Look, honestly, I hate to say this, and sorry Raiders fans, but I think he's win the spoon. I think No Savage, you win
Who
spoon.
is this bloke? Where's this guy? Jeez, note to self, don't bloody give Reece Walsh a bad rap.
He's our fucking golden child. How
No
dare
Reece
you,
Walsh
sir?
jokes in future.
That face is
Right.
worth millions of dollars, and you just shit on him.
It's just blindsided me as well. I didn't see it come, so I got nothing.
The thing is, though, all that being said, Enrico, I agree with everything you just said. But the good thing about if there's one side that cannot rely on its outside backs, it's the Raiders.
Yeah.
And we haven't even mentioned Nick Kotrick.
Yeah.
And I think, like, even when you're at your peak a couple of years ago and Chance was playing fullback, like, he wasn't coming up with 1,000 try assists.
No, he was just a bunch of work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that they can manage this spot.
Yeah, I agree. Like, for example, if Broncos lost Reece Walsh, I would be like, even though our full pack is good, but it's probably not as good as Raiders' forward pack at the moment. Maybe in a few years it will be, but with like Tarpane, Papali'i, all those boys. So I think they'll manage. I really do. I don't mind the shout of whiten it back. I really don't. And especially with Schneider playing as well as he did. Yeah. So with the Raiders, anyone else that stood out for you boys that played well?
No one else really jumped out to me, to be honest with you, mate. Really not a game I'm taking much out of this for the Raiders at all.
They're up against such a quality opposition in regards to like what they rolled out that it's almost like a score that it probably should be in regards to, all right, you look at the Bulldogs, they've got Kiraz, Braden Burns, Avarillo, Alamotti, Ockenbaugh. I mean, so far all the way, except for Preston, first grade. And
Yeah.
Preston is a gun.
It was NRL versus New South Wales Cup, essentially.
Pretty much. So, again, as I said, like the score, what I loved about the Raiders is you still saw that Raiders style of footy, that super aggressive, in your face, disrespectful. I don't give a fuck who you are. And I like it. I love that. That's what Ricky Stewart was all about, in your fucking face.
I think as well, Canberra, like, as much as they didn't get close to winning this, like, they came out and got punched in the face. It was 16-0 after about 15 minutes. Like, I sort of thought, fuck, this could get a little bit ugly here. But, you know, they managed to hang in there. So, I mean, if you go after the 20-minute mark, Canberra won the back end of that trial.
Yeah. So yeah, not. I think solid signs for both teams, to be honest. Like probably like more exciting with the Doggies because of where they are, but Raiders absolutely nothing to worry about.
What do we think about Jared Croker? Does he
make?
Do you reckon he plays again?
I think right now it's going to be very tough to make that side with the amount of outside backs they've got.
Yeah, I even think if there's an injury, I'm not sure if he's.
They have so many outside backs to the gun.
Yeah,
like we didn't even mention Kotrick before, or Chotridge. That's how good their back line.
I think, fuck, isn't it crazy with Jared Croker? You go from 18 months ago, is he going to be the highest point scorer of all time to...
Can't get a
That's what happens at the end of a career, doesn't it? Unless you're like an all-time like great, it just, you know, age does to everyone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It peters off quickly. And granted, injuries did it to Croak.
Yeah.
I suppose the thing is, there's depth in the back line, but he's still extremely reliable at centre. If Rapana does go to fullback, Harley Smith in on the wing, he could only be one injury away before Savage comes back. But again, it'll all come down to how he performs in New South Wales Cup early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget, guys, Celebrations Cameron Park and Damn Hotel Wyong Bottle Shop both giving away or a chance to win a Bloke soccer jersey or a Bloke party shirt. So you go into the draw if you buy a 6-pack or a case of Bloke Midi or Lager. Plus the 4 locations that we will be heading to for the first month of the season. Country Tour, Bloke Live Show, myself, Guru, Timmy and Matty. We're going to do Friday 3rd of March will be at Riverina in Wagga Wagga. Friday 10th of March will be at St Kilda in Armidale. Friday 17th of March will be in Rockhampton, yet to be confirmed location. And Friday 24th of March will be at Gilligans in Cairns. Now let's get to the Dolphins versus the Cowboys. Biggest takeaway from this for me, and I understand they had a relatively strong side put out there, the Dolphins, but I think that they showed everyone their NRL standard. They're absolutely NRL standard. They're not going to be a pushover for every side. I thought their defence was outstanding. I thought Jared Wallace was outstanding from the front. I think Ray Stone was phenomenal, especially in defence. I think they're going to be a real headache for people because they're going to go into the game thinking that this is going to be not that difficult. and they're going to put it to people. 22 all with the Cowboys. I understand they've got more, they named a stronger side than the Cowboys for sure. But the Cowboys are still the side that came, third?
Yep.
In the NRL. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought the Dolphins were pretty impressive. I enjoyed watching them play their footy. I'll tell you what, this Jack Bostock, we said he last week and sort of said, he reminds us of Zach Lomax. Mate, the more I watch him, the more I think Campbell Graham.
I thought Campbell Graham as well.
I think he's
few errors in
his
game though.
Yeah.
Few errors, but
I mean, there was one error that he had where I don't know what on earth Jermaine Osako was doing when he charged into him when he was off that bomb.
Oh yeah,
fuck, that error should go to Osako. That was bullshit.
So we'll go
but anyway, two. Yeah, still, but I reckon he'll be a guy that comes into first grade on the wing and then he'll slowly become a rep centre. He looks
incredible. So similar to Campbell Graham in regards to just the way he goes about his business. Takes the tough carries. He loves the contact. I agree with you guys. I really like Jack Bostock. I really do.
And yeah, it's Bostock.
Bostock.
Yeah, I actually had
so it's not bus stop?
No.
Okay.
I had one of his teachers.
I was calling him bus stop this whole time.
I had one of his teachers send me a message this week and say that saying how to pronounce it and said, I'll just let you know because he would never, ever pull anyone up on pronouncing it wrong. He's that much of a good kid. So
well, I'm going to intentionally pronounce it incorrectly from here on out. Because if he's one of the boys who'll love that shit. No, I'm joking.
He's on one today, isn't he, Guru?
He's enjoying himself.
He's on one. He's on one.
Hey, footy's back, boys. Have a bit of joy in the life, eh? I've been missing it. Timmy, what do you reckon about the Dolphins? They going to win a premiership or what?
Oh, yeah, look, about 40 years' time, potentially.
Oh, far out. So negative, Timmy.
I'm so negative to the Dolphins. There's some legend on Twitter who sort of gives it to me about it, so I feel so bad. There were some good signs for them, for sure. I just struggle to look past the fact that they drew with a Cowboy side who aren't going to have a player run out in round one. It was a Q Cup side. And, I mean, granted, the Dolphins have a lot coming back as well, particularly in their pack, but I thought they were okay. They've come together well in obviously limited time. There'll be some new faces come week 2 of trials, obviously. Herman SA I thought was quite good.
He was good, man. He was good.
Herman's one that I've always liked, but just up and down. And I just want to see him string together consistent games of footy, but hard running. He's got a great offload on him.
Strong ass.
Yeah, so strong. So I'd love for Herman to get a round one spot off the bench and do what we know he's capable of, because I think they'll need a bit of X factor off the bench. And whether Herman's going to be an X factor, I'm not sure. But yeah, he's probably the one that did catch my eye for them.
Yeah, I thought Jared Wallace and Herman were fantastic up front. Like, Jared Wallace was an interesting one as well, because I know he's towards the end of his career, but I actually thought he was playing good for the Titans when he played. Like, I didn't think he was, especially the year that they released him.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that. Like, I thought he could have actually offered quite a bit to that Titans pack. So it is what it is. I think he's going to be really good for the Dolphins, both those boys.
I think he got put on report for a shoulder charge in that game. So I don't know what that looks like, but I hope he doesn't miss round one.
Oh, surely not. It wasn't that
I
bad.
would hope not. And if he's going to NRL, just
come on, NRL.
Sweep it.
Yeah.
Seriously. Well,
no thanks.
I know who someone got fined 7% of their match payment for head hiring someone. The head hire on Fisher Harris. Who head hired Fisher Harris again? Josh Kerr. And it was just 7% of his match fee or whatever.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I as soon as that happened and I imagined them without him, sort of went, oh, fuck, they're light. And I think that's going to be their worry this year. But I thought the halfback was really good, Isaiah Katoa. Some of his touches.
He just few errors, but I mean, again, we're being super critical. Like, he's a teenage half.
Just that try that he set up at the end where he came off his right foot and he found them on the inside. The guy that scored that try, Mason Teague, they've got him from the Penrith Panthers.
He looks good.
He looks very good. And I think the last 2 weeks we haven't seen the best out of him either. Just I know he moved off the Raiders. I just remembered that Puru that we watched for.
Is he related?
Yeah, brother. So that Puru that was playing for the Raiders, he was the lock for the Panthers jersey flag last year. He got man of the match in the grand final and he was their captain.
Really? Interesting.
He's really flown under the radar. Like, I haven't heard you. I didn't realise he was there until this game. But he's one that could be interesting in that 13 spot for the Raiders too.
Yeah,
Sorry to divert. But
Yeah, I mean, Katoa. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't have 2 tries. I swear he stepped off his right twice to set up a try. Right?
I think one of them got taken back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, look, the skill set's there. Like, this guy's, 18 years old or 19 years old, and he looks super silky. He gets through all the structure he needs to get through. He's got the footwork. Just the little rougher edges around his game. If you can just clean that up, far out. I mean, I envision a world where he's putting super amount of pressure by the end of the season on Sean O'Sullivan to keep, and also Milford, because I actually think Katoa could play 6 as well.
I think he could.
I think there's a world where by the end of the season they're finding it hard to not put him in that side. That's how much I think he's going to improve.
And I think if you're one of those starting halves, you don't want to get injured or suspended.
No
You don't want to give this kid a chance to show what he can do. So I just love the way that he carries himself, mate. You would never pick he's a 19-year-old in a new city.
Yeah.
Just come out of school.
Superstar as well.
Yeah.
Massive raps. So Dolphins, look, again, it was against a reserve grade side, but I like that you could see a system of playing footy, the way they played footy. They looked like they'd played together before. There are other teams in the squads that have been, clubs that have been around forever that look like they'd barely played together. This Dolphins side genuinely hasn't played together.
And that's what you know, like, with the Wayne Bennett coach side, you know that every bloke out there is going to die for their coach.
Yeah.
Because he's such a man manager. So, even if they're a bit rusty and it takes a bit of time, they will be giving them everything they've got each game, and it goes a hell of a long way in the NRL because there's sides who don't do it at times.
And Wayne wasn't even there yesterday either.
Yeah, it was Christian Wolf.
Yeah.
Okay, now the Cowboys are 2 players, Robert Derby and Sandrugu. Holy shit, Sandrugu is fucking impressive.
Yeah, I posted about him yesterday at lunchtime or whatever on that day. I'm really excited about him. I'll be honest with you. Compared to other games I've seen him play, I didn't think he was crazy impressive. But then I checked the stats and went, holy fuck.
Well, you know what?
He was everywhere.
You know why I probably was so... Because I'd never seen him before.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it stood out to me the most, because I was like, who is this big Fijian forward getting through I thought the first 20 minutes, I thought he was going to be a 20-minute impact big forward. And so I was like, it's impressive, but it's 20 minutes, so it's whatever. Bruh.
He's a monster.
He went all day long.
They call him the Fijian Corey Parker.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's like a massive
And
rap.
if you go to my Instagram and have a look at the thing I put up the other day, some of the offloads he comes up with are unbelievable. And not offloads, in the World Cup against pleb sides. He's doing it against the Kangaroos and the Kiwis.
Yeah. How old is he?
Not sure. I think he's been around for a little bit.
Because he won gold with the Fiji Sevens, didn't he?
Yeah.
1998, so he's 25.
He can play anywhere from, like, he was listed as a winger last year on the Cowboys side.
What?
Yeah, he can play anywhere. And I was surprised to see him in the front row.
Holy shit. This guy is truly impressive. Like, if he has, it may not be this season, but next season with a whole first grade preseason under his belt, he can move, he's contact, like he's a mate. Like
It could be this season though.
You reckon?
I reckon it could be.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised because he truly is, like, the amount of weapons he has as a front rower is incredible.
And I think you saw his base yesterday.
Far out.
What a bloke to have on the bench just in terms of versatility.
Yeah.
They look at, like, all right, who's going to be the 14 for them. If he can legit play in the outside backs and also front row, that doesn't exist in the NRL. There's not a player in the NRL who can play wing and can play front row.
Yeah. Nah, not that I can think of.
And I
sure
think
there'll
with
be
him
someone.
as well, when you watch him play and when you watch his movement sometimes, I don't think he has the greatest understanding of the game and where he needs to be. His game is just go fucking hard and go 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Mate, he's the kind of player that can take you from coming third to winning a comp. And that's not to say that, like, it's all on him, but he's that extra little bit of class that these teams that win comps unearth. Look at the Sharks, for example. Valentine Holmes, Jack Bird. Like, usually in the non-established clubs, when they win a comp, they unearth, like, Isaiah Yeo at the Penrith Panthers over the last few years. So, mate, if he plays like this every week,
He could be the Nanai of this year.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I'd honestly argue maybe even bigger impact because Nanai is more of NAS, sorry, is more of a like he's not going to get through a mountain of work. He's going to those one-off big plays throughout the game. He's getting through a mountain of work constantly.
Yeah, and he's a good defender too. If you go and have a look at that clip on my Instagram page, the last thing I included is a shot where Latrell Mitchell gets the ball from centre. They give it to him under. He comes back into the ruck. He just picks him up and dumps him on his back. Like, you don't see people do that.
Not to Latrell.
It's been a good weekend for your players,
mate, it's been a great week for me.
Your chest would have
I
been
might
out
hang the
this morning.
fucking cap up.
Yeah, they were all pretty well validated.
They
so
all came off.
you're due, but
You're not here for no reason. You do know a little bit,
It's
I
questionable
guess.
sometimes. But
Riley Price, I also thought was outstanding. Tough as fuck. Can hit. And just quickly want to talk about Robert Derby. Wow. Super athletic, strong, big, tall. The way he bumped off Asako for that second try. Like, Asako's played a lot of NRL. Like, he's not a small boy, Asako. Like, he's strong, thick. Derby is a rookie, and he shrugged him off like that.
and I think that he was the pick of the wingers, but I think the next best winger on the field was the Cowboys' other one.
Yeah. Yep.
He's very, very good, mate. I love this halfback, Tom Duffy.
Yeah, he was
from
great.
Townsville. Yeah,
He was great. The long hair.
Yeah, I think
Fabio.
Sometimes Cowboys players, especially young guys, they don't play the SG ball, the Harold Match. You don't hear about them. And this guy, I'm pretty sure he was the halfback in that game that Pizzette in New South Wales 19. So no one noticed him, but he is really talented, and I've liked him for a while, but I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to do what he did yesterday. So that was impressive. And the fullback, mate, he's a gun too, Tom Chester. I think he's got more to show than what he did yesterday, but he still would have gone for 150 odd metres, had a try assist. I reckon he could be the 14 this year for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I will say I thought Benny Hampton played bloody really well too, so he could jag a 14 spot potentially.
Benny Hampton has to be one of the most unluckiest guys of all time, I reckon. The way that his career's played out, he played for Melbourne in 2016, lost the grand final off the bench. Then he moved to the Cowboys and lost the grand final to Melbourne off the bench the year later. And ever since then, he hasn't got a look in. He's very talented, Ben Hampton. I don't know.
Another one who's almost too versatile for his own good. Just hasn't been able to lock down a position because he's missed a fix-it for every club he plays for.
He's always just one place out of favour.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Great signs for the Cowboys. Again, you look at depth, like what is their depth like? What is their next generation like? And fucking Cowboys are looking red hot.
Tell you who else went good? The kid from Canberra, Adam Cook. He came up.
Yeah.
He had a really good game. He was strong.
Yeah, couldn't get a look in Canberra, so hopefully they can get a bit more out of him up in Townsville. And good start.
Good versatility.
Now, second draw for the night, Broncos versus the Titans.
How good's not a Queensland team winning this?
I was going to say, they just don't know how to win. It's not in their DNA.
We just focus on the origins, bro. That's all. Now, the Broncos and the Titans. I thought both teams showed some good youth, some exciting youth. I thought Reece Walsh was, outside of one or two areas, was absolutely fucking phenomenal. And I think that he proved that it just shows you what a difference a high-quality fullback can make. Because last year, and it's no disrespect to the fullbacks we had, but they weren't doing what Reece Walsh was doing the other day. It's going to be interesting with Reece Walsh because he's so hands-on and he's so used to the Warriors where they needed him every play to do something great, is how is he going to fit in with Reynolds and like, for example, there's a time where he kicked on the second tackle. I think there's another time where he kicked where he shouldn't have kicked. And you're like, I assume he did that because he's the guy in this game. He's the main guy. But you've got to leave that for Reynolds when it comes to the first grade games. Leave the kicking for Reynolds and that, all that kind of stuff. Only kick when there's something on, kind of thing.
I think Reynolds will sort that pretty quick,
for sure.
Yeah.
But again, it's just something you got to look at as a gun. When you're as good as Reece Walsh, you don't want to overplay your hand. You want to be able to inject yourself where the team needs you. But he was absolutely outstanding. He was so good. That break he made up the middle of the field, that footwork, comes off the right foot, the baby goosey, through the line, fuck me. Only other little thing, if I had to be super critical, where he stayed down with a sore knee and they scored on him. Situations like that, look, I understand if you're going to stretch it off and it's a real bad knee injury for sure, but you got to get up. You got to get up.
In his defence, though, no ticker, he'll fit right in at Brisbane.
Oh, some of your best there, Timmy. Some of your best.
We're running out of time.
We couldn't get a win, but at least we didn't lose. But so that is like, that's I guess, again, being super critical. You get up. No matter what, if you're on your try line, unless you're going to be stretched off, you get up off the deck. So hopefully that changes a little bit throughout the season where he doesn't get a lot of knocks and stays down or whatever. But he is special, man. Far out, he's silky. He's so good. It's so good that we got him in the club.
Yeah, that play there, that caught my eye too. But it is only a small thing. And I'd be surprised if there isn't people at Brisbane that say something to him about that. But the upside in him is just crazy.
Fuck, he's silky.
And I'm really excited to see, like, he arrived at the Warriors without playing a game of first grade, and all of a sudden they were going, what's the game plan this week? What are you going to do to win this game for us? I'm looking forward to seeing him not having to be the guy in the team and just be able to play his game and have a guy like Adam Reynolds to create space for him. Really excited about him. Mate, the halfback. Yeah, fucking hell.
I was about to say, I don't like the way the dynamic of this bench is shifting in that, you know, Kempy's giving me stick, I'm giving Kempy stick, and now I'm starting to agree with some of the shit that Guru says. But he called it last week, mate. Jack Ahern, he was good.
He's very good. You look around the competition at, one, the halfbacks, two, the reserve halfbacks. I just love that he's 28, 29 years old. He's seen it all before. He's got ability. He can play fullback as well. He's got a nice kicking game. I was saying to Tim on the way in, like, he's not a superstar with a heap of stats, but he pulls the right rein every time. His timing's always right. His spacing's always right. He just gets it all right.
Now, the question, I thought Shalom had some good moments. The question, though, remains, are we any closer to knowing who's going to be the 9 for the Broncos?
No fucking idea.
Because I've got to be honest, I probably at the moment would have Smoothie as the front runner. Purely, like, you look at all their stats from the weekend. I know stats aren't everything, and Corey Pakes does offer quite a lot in attack in regards to his running game. 40 metres, 18 tackles, 1 miss. Then you got Billy Walters, 15 tackle, 3 misses, but he made 50 metres and had 2 tackle breaks. Then you've got Tyson Smoothie, who basically didn't run the ball. He had 1 run, but he made 21 tackles and didn't miss it. Didn't miss 1. I think you got to give Tyson Smoothie another crack, because no one stood out for me where I was like, they absolutely a standout better than like safety wise. Right now, you'd probably go Corey and Billy as the 9, but I think that it's still up in the air and it should come down to this last trial.
Yeah, you play the Cowboys this week, Saturday night, so that's probably, I think that's going to have to decide it. But if we're sitting here next Monday and we've still got no idea, I will not be surprised at all.
What do you want from your hooker in Kempy, in the sense that the structure of the team, you've got a budding superstar in Reece Walsh at the back. You've got one of the best organisers in the game in Adam Reynolds at half, and another boom youngster in Ezra Mam at 5'8". Do you want someone taking a bit of a playmaker, I suppose, like Billy Walters or Tyson Smoothie, who can create and take a bit of pressure off them? Do you want someone more like Corey Pakes, who can just give good early service and get them the ball, make his tackles? What do you think is the perfect fit for that club right now? Because maybe that'll help answer your question of, like, who do you go with?
To be honest, like Smoothie, because he's a genuine number 9. He is Queensland Cup number 9 of the year. And so he's going to make the right choices and getting it to the right people when they need to get it. But I understand also you've got to respect the hierarchy. Like Corey and Walters have been there for longer and they've played and all that kind of stuff.
The Broncos are going to have to give Smoothie a contract if he wants to start in round 1, because he's on development now, so he can't play to round 11.
Oh, really? Well, there you fucking go.
And there's 1 spot left, and they're saying it's between him and Tristan Saylor. So,
and Saylor's been going really well.
No,
I'd go Smoothie. Saylor has played fantastic, but it's too important of a position to not have a genuine number 9. Whereas we've got Selwyn Cobbo, Herbie Farnworth, Reece Walsh. I even reckon Ezra Mam could play fullback at a pinch. Whereas number 9 wise, if there's a chance that Billy and Corey don't fire, then we're done. Like, we've got literally no one.
What's the? I always forget his name. The young fella. Moser. Is he in top 25, 30?
I don't think so.
He'd be top 30.
Yeah,
surely.
he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be top 30. He wouldn't have left. He wouldn't have taken a contract anything less than top 30 in the 9 for Queensland.
So they could pick Moser round 1?
Yes, and it took a while to find it, but he got pre-season surgery, so that's why he's not playing the trials.
Okay,
I don't think we'll see him for minimum 12 rounds, 10, 11, 12 rounds. But
That could change quickly, though, I reckon.
Well, playing no trials, you reckon he's going to play well enough in the first 6 rounds to knock off 3 hookers? The Queensland Cup hooker, Billy Walters and Corey? I mean, he could. Fuck, I hope he did. That'd be awesome.
I guess if Smoothie's the one that they go for, he is 3 deep.
In that 30. It is interesting, though. It is interesting. But I will say that whether it's Smoothie, Corey, or Walters, I haven't got any one of them like clear ahead. Like, there's no one that I'm sitting there going, nah, he's played the best. So
doesn't it show you just how tough it is to make it that you can be Q Cup hooker of the year, and you still can't even get into a side that hasn't had a hooker in years and is desperately needed.
And he's got 2 players that aren't specialist hookers. They're guys that used to be 6s and 7s that have been moved into it. Outside of that, good, solid showing. Jordan Pereira got through a bunch of work, scored 2 tries.
What about that kick that Sailor put in for him?
Oh,
Incredible.
Anyone telling me that was lucky or whatever, he knew exactly what he was doing on that play.
100% he knew what he was
The way
doing.
he held the football, he pointed to where it was fucking going before he
That
put
was
it there.
freakish.
That was
incredible.
And
And
it just like knuckleballed in the air all the way to the exact spot.
and the put down. Amazing. Anyway, so look, good solid showing by the Broncos. I think the real standout was Reece Walsh. I thought he was outstanding. Now to the Titans. Their winger, Khan Pereira, scored 2 tries, and you got Jojo Fafita on the other side. So is it Khan Pereira that's crazy quick, apparently?
They're actually both very quick. They're the 2 fastest at the
Wasn't
clubs.
Fafita number 1? Like, I think
Fafita's number 1.
Yeah. But what's crazy is when you look on the field, the other Khan Pereira
My eye
looks
test
quicker.
says Khan Pereira.
Yeah, my eye test says the same thing.
Yeah.
But Fafita apparently...
Yeah, at the Titans, he's the quickest. That's what they were saying in the thing yesterday.
Right. Yeah, but that Khan Pereira, he is very, very talented. Scored 2. I probably wouldn't have given him his seconds.
Oh,
No.
bro. Like, what are we doing? Who looked at that and didn't see space between his fingers and the fucking put down? It's so bad, man. Like, I'll cop 50-50 all day, even 70-30. But ones like that where you've got a replay and it's like, even the commentators.
100-0 is where I draw the line.
Yeah, 100-0, I draw the line.
Like, there was daylight between finger and ball there.
You didn't even need to see the daylight. You could just see the way the ball landed.
moved, yeah.
Like, there's no pressure on that. Anyway, we won't get into it. But it was a tough call.
We'll save that for round 1.
Yeah, we'll save that for every round of the fucking season. I thought David Feeder was solid. There was a bit there where he was doing his kind of old school stuff of like, crabbing across the line. And it's funny, as Tallis said in the commentary, like he has to like learn to, even though he knows how, just to hit some lines and do that. But I thought he did that. I thought there was a few times where he did do that. 121 metres. And what's really interesting about this is 121 metres, only 1 tackle break. And you might say that's crazy that you're happy that he had not many tackle breaks. But what it tells me is that's 121 metres of just tough carries, which I want to see from David Fafita. If he takes care of that, the tackle breaks are going to come. The space is going to come.
With his line running, he just needs to get a bit deeper. He always overruns it, and the timing is off. Granted, he's back. Like, he's got a new half in Tanner Boyd inside him. Now, I know they played together when they were younger, but there's been a couple of years gap there. So timing will be everything, but just get a bit deeper, mate. You can always catch up, but once you've overrun it, that play's done.
I think Aaron Clark's in for a big year. I really do. I think people are going to, including us, are going to be like, wow. Because like, he's got great footwork. He's super strong and like nuggety. I thought he was good.
I think with him, the challenge is going to be doing it for 25 weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
When you go back and have a look at his first game at Lock last year, like obviously Supercoach score isn't the be-all and end-all, but his first game was fucking unbelievable. And it just dropped by about 5 or 6 tackles per game over the next 4. So just finding that consistency is going to be his challenge. But he didn't have a pre-season as a 13, whereas he has this year.
Concerns about being a little light on up front this year. Jamie Jolliffe over 200 metres. Good game.
Yep, absolutely. And that's like, so that's, you don't have... oh my God, I can't believe forgetting his name. He played Origin. Oh,
Mo
Fotuaika.
Fotuaika.
He wasn't there. The only concern I have with Titans, if like, and again, it sounds stupid because the Broncos, they drew, but like if I was the Titans, I would have loved to have seen a low-scoring game as a Titans fan, because like that's the one thing that you want going in. Now, did they defend poorly? Like, no, I don't. I think they were solid, but that's just the only thing they need to sort, and then they play top 8. If they become one of the best defensive sides in the comp, and it's easier said than done, they can do whatever they want. I thought Campbell was okay. I thought he was a little bit quiet this game. He tried his hardest. I mean, he got through a fair bit of work. You know what? I'm so used to him being fucking amazing.
Yeah, our expectations are very high.
Quite high. Because he did have 160 metres, 2 line break assists.
And you got to remember,
and a try assist.
He played centre for quite a bit of that. But what about the kid that came on for him? Kinney, is it?
Yeah.
K-I-N-I. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but fuck. He's electrifying.
Kinney. Yeah, he was good, man. He was good.
Because I remember like a year ago, it was the kid that was in jersey 20, Jalen de Groot. He was meant to be the next fullback. And this kid's definitely jumped in.
His footwork was fucking wild. Like constantly looking like he's going to be a threat. 151 metres, this is for Kinney. 48 post contact. 2 tackle breaks, a line break, offload. Not a bad knock.
Yeah, he could be a really good wild card to throw in at some point this year.
I can't wait to see the great Brimo back in there, though. Yeah. I fucking love Brimo as a player. So, yeah, look, good. Solid from Broncos Titans. I think they probably played about where we would expect them to play at the moment.
And I think a lot of the problems that I still think they had last night, Foz and Verrills go a long way to solve those
massively. And it's the same with the Broncos. Like the problems they had, Renault solves that. Anyway, that's us. Anything else, boys?
No, we're done.
Got anything going on this week?
Beers and Break-Evens, Wednesday, 3 p.m. We'll be announcing our group code for everyone to join with a major prize coming the week after. So
how good. Your YouTube's going gangbusters.
Well.
That's awesome.
You going to play Supercoach this year or
what? So much time, bro. So much time. But so you can enter your Supercoach group. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So we'll have a code.
How do you do that?
Come and enter on their Supercoach app. They
What's
enter
the code?
a league. We'll have it on Wednesday. We don't have it just yet.
You don't have it yet?
So you have to come watch Beers and Break-Evens on Wednesday.
Watch Beers and Break-Even, and then we may talk about it next week. So
we may, but there's going to be a big cash prize that people aren't going to want to miss out on.
As in a cash prize if you win the whole comp?
Win our comp, yeah.
Win your comp. Okay, we'll fucking be there Wednesday.
Yeah.
Beers and Break-Even. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.